the unmistakable twin spires of Churchill Downs, and the new giant video board on Kentucky Oaks Day. It's called the Derby for Fillies, where tomorrow they'll run for the Roses. Today, it's the Fillies for the Lilies. 13 three-year-old fillies racing a mile and an eighth for a purse of $1 million. And like Derby Day itself, the hats are the primary fashion accessory. Pink is the color of the day as the Longines Kentucky Oaks honors cancer survivors. And appropriately enough, female jockey Rosie Napravnik rides the Oaks favorite, Untappable. And the Oaks comes later today, but now horses are on the track for the 8 Bells, which was named for the ill-fated filly who ran second in the 2008 Derby. The purse is $175,000. Three-year-old fillies going 7 furlongs, and the favorite is 50 Shades of Gold at 2-1. Close second choice, She's a Tiger at 5-2. And 50 Shades of Gold ought to give us a pretty good line on Untappable in the Oaks later today.
Yes, she should. 50 Shades of Gold to be ridden by Mike Smith, who will be wearing those iconic blue and white silks of the breeder and owner Clarence Scarborough Jr., who passed away in February at age 88, best known as the owner of Ali Sheba, winner of the Derby and the Preakness in '87. And this horse, actually, the female family traces back to Ali Sheba. 50 Shades of Gold was headed to the Kentucky Oaks, but trainer Brett Calhoun called an audible to this shorter 8 Bells.
I remember Ali Sheba charging down the stretch here in the 1988 Breeders' Cup Classic on this track at Churchill Downs to become the all-time leading money winner at that time. Second choice, She's a Tiger, the Eclipse Award winner, as champion 2-year-old filly last year, making her first start in 6 months.
Yeah, she got that honor because she did cross the finish line first in the juvenile fillies race. She was disqualified for bearing out in that race. Now, since there's been a change of equipment, after talking to trainer Jeff Bondi, he took the blinkers off. And I asked him why. He said, well, we kind of want to slow her down a little bit. Listen, she's fast anyway. She's going to be up there close early. But the hopes were to relax her enough so later on in the year she'd get the idea to slow it down and maybe go longer. She's very accomplished. As I said, she's going to be up close early. And, of course, she's got Gary Stevens on her, so this guy knows how to win races.
She is at 5-2 at the moment. Our Amazing Rose you see there in the Mike Rapoli colors. Todd Pletcher, the trainer.
Yeah, she's only run a couple of times, but she's been very impressive. Once last year at Saratoga. Of course, if a 2-year-old wins at Saratoga, they have to be pretty good. She had a long layoff. She started back in March. She did win at Aqueduct. She wasn't as impressive. She didn't show the early flashy speed, although she was pretty tactical early in the race. She did grind out the win. She's undefeated, but she's not quite as accomplished as some of these others in here.
And right behind her is JoJo Warrior at Rosie Napravnik rides. Bob Baffert is the trainer.
Yeah, Rosie's got a pretty good mount here. This filly had a nice comeback race at Oaklawn Park in April, actually on the Arkansas Derby undercard. She was second in a stakes race. Gary Stevens rode her that day, but she was down on the inside in some traffic, finished with a lot of determination. And so Bob Baffert will be trying to win this race for the second time with JoJo Warrior.
7 furlong race, so it starts in the chute along the back stretch here at Churchill Downs. We're normally seeing races that are longer that start in front of the grandstand, but this one starts in the chute. And there's a look at the favorite 50 Shades of Gold.
Yeah, the 6 earlier dirt races on the card before this have shown that the racing surface at Churchill today is fast, but it's very fair. We've seen speed horses, we've seen horses off the pace, inside, outside, so that should have no role in the outcome of the race.
50 Shades of Gold goes in. This is the 8 Bell 7 furlong race for 3-year-old fillies. And the new voice of Churchill Downs, Larry Colmus, with the call of the 8 Bells.
She's a Tiger is coming up to the outside stall here to complete the line for the 8 Bells. Gary Stevens in the saddle on She's a Tiger. She goes in, and they're all in line. We're ready for the start. They're off in the 8 Bells. Whomping Willow started quickly from the inside, and JoJo Warrior a little bit faster grabs the early lead with Cash Control moving up into second, and then it's 50 Shades of Gold on the outside. Our Amazing Rose settles into stride back there in fifth, 3 lengths off the lead. After that comes Milam, She's a Tiger on the far outside. Designer Legs and Mufaja has been outrun through the early stages here. They went 22-1 for the opening quarter, and it's JoJo Warrior a half length in front. Cash Control on the outside, second. 50 Shades of Gold is third. Whomping Willow rides the rail fourth. Milam is fifth, and racing 3 lengths off the lead outside of horses. Then the undefeated Our Amazing Rose is within 3 lengths of the lead. She's a Tiger is on the far outside. She's got 4 lengths to make up. Gary Stevens starting to ask more from her than it's Designer Legs. They went 44-3 for a half mile, and they're into the stretch. JoJo Warrior cuts the corner. Cash Control is alongside. 50 Shades of Gold. Milam on the far outside. She's a Tiger's not going to get there today. They're into the final furlong, and it is Milam on the outside of 50 Shades of Gold. These two, 50 Shades of Gold and Milam, will decide the 8 bells. Milam's on the outside. 50 Shades of Gold on the inside. These two coming down to the line. 50 Shades of Gold and Mike Smith have won. Milam was second, and then came Cash Control and Designer Legs.
So the favorite, 50 Shades of Gold, under Mike Smith, who was very patient, I thought, in the stretch. It seemed like he knew he had the race won, because he never really went to work on the filly. He just eased her right to the finish line.
Look at Tom, I've ridden 32,000 races, and I'm sitting here thinking, Mike, when are you going to hit this? He was extremely patient. This is a Hall of Famer. This is a Hall of Fame ride. Never got nervous when Milam and Jose Loscano came up to him. And it helps a filly, especially fillies. They don't like to be beat on a lot. A little encouragement. Mike's really good with that. Remember, he rode the champion Zenyatta, but very cool customer coming down the lane.
Meanwhile, as we go back and take another look at the start, last year's 2-year-old filly champion, She's a Tiger, broke from the far outside post position, number 10. She was the second betting choice in there. She did not get out of the gate as well as they had hoped, obviously, and that put her behind the 8 ball from the start, because even though the pace was fast, she's the type of filly that's shown she likes to be up in the mix.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, she's a fast filly. It was almost like she was taken by surprise. Maybe the taking away of blinkers, you know, changed the way that she broke. But it did change the complexion as we turn for home, and we see Mike Smith almost knowing he's measuring the other competition. It's the difference between, look at Jose Loscano on the outside on Milam, who's very accomplished himself. I mean, not a Hall of Famer, but he's violently riding his filly, trying to get everything he can, and Mike Smith just cruising along in rhythm with 50 Shades of Gold. Very cool to watch that, actually.
As they approached the finish line, Mike Smith had them measured all the way and guides the favorite, 50 Shades of Gold, to victory. She, of course, has been running against Untappable, so perhaps that gives us a line on the Kentucky Oaks to be run later, where Untappable is the favorite. There's the victory by Mike Smith and 50 Shades of Gold. So Mike with a big smile, and the filly with her ears pricked. She's interested in everything going on here too as well, after she wins the 8 bells with her tongue hanging out. 50 Shades of Gold takes the 8 bells on the Oaks undercard. Back to the prices in a moment. Back at Churchill Downs, that's 50 Shades of Gold and Mike Smith, who have just won the 8 Bells Stakes in the colors of the estate of the late Clarence Scarborough, who bred the filly in Texas. She is a daughter of My Golden Song. She pays $620 to win. Milam in second. Cash Control was third. The 7-9 Exacta returned $43.40. You see the trifecta and superfecta payoffs as well. And there's Mike Smith unsaddling after a victory in the 8 Bell Stakes on the Kentucky Oaks undercard. And still to come, of course, is the Oaks. And the favorite in the Oaks is the outside horse Untappable. This winner, 50 Shades of Gold, has been running against Untappable, and Untappable is the 8-5 favorite in the Oaks. 5-1 on Rhea Antonia, 7-1 on Rosalind, and 6-1 on My Miss Sophia. And of course, Mike Smith won the Oaks last year. He just won the 8 Bells. He's with Lafitte Pinkai III.
All right, Tom, Mike Smith with 50 Shades of Gold. Courageous effort in this 8 Bells. What did she show you late in that final 16th of a mile while Milan was trying to cut into her lead?
A lot of heart, you know, a lot of heart. She actually locked onto her. So when you feel a horse do that, lock onto one, you know you got that one. You just worry about anybody coming on the outside of him. And she did that, and she didn't need any more encouragement than that. All I could do at that point was mess it up. So I just stayed a good passenger, and she did all the work today.
Untappable, heavy favorite in the Kentucky Oaks. What does Rhea Antonia have to do in order to pull off the upset?
Well, if Untappable runs like she's been running, we're going to have to do quite a bit. But I tell you, if there's a horse in there that can beat her, you know, if someone can beat her, I really think we're the filly that can do that.
Got to ask you about Opportunity. You opted to ride him over Intense Holiday. Opportunity scratched yesterday, will not run in the Kentucky Derby. How disappointing was that for you?
You know, very disappointing. But, you know, honestly, Lafitte, at this point in my career, the main thing is a horse's safety. So glad that, you know, nothing, you know, we didn't run him in the afternoon and something happened then. We found it was a minor bruise. It's something that we can fix real quick. But he just didn't need to run tomorrow. And so we'll fix it, and hopefully we'll meet him down the road.
Good luck in the Oaks, Mike.
Thank you.
Tom?
All right, Lafitte. So Mike Smith in 50 Shades of Gold, winning the 8 bells. And I said he had such a very confident ride. I looked over at Jerry, and he had a big smile on his face. So what does that say about Untappable in the Oaks?
Well, 50 Shades of Gold was going to run in the Kentucky Oaks. The reason she didn't run in the Oaks, Untappable. She was Untappable's a 4-5 program favorite. Right now, you saw the early odds. I'm surprised she's as high as 8-5, given her dominance in her 2 starts this year. Put it this way, her last win at the fairgrounds, she ran 5 lengths faster than any other horse in the Oaks field has ever run in their life. Is she unbeatable? Well, no horse in horse racing is unbeatable, but she deserves to be, in my opinion, a very heavy favorite.
She'll be ridden by Rosie from the outside post position. Rosie, the early pace setter there in the 8 bells.
Yeah, listen, if I was in the jocks room and riding and trying to figure out how to beat Untappable, I'm not sure I could, because she's generally a little wide, which she will be a little wide in the Oaks. You can't trap her because Rosie probably won't tuck her in. The only thing I'm thinking is that she didn't show up on our biggest stage last year in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Now, why is that? I don't know, but that's the kind of performance she'd have to kind of throw in for the other riders in there and horses to expect to beat her. She would have to come back to the field. I don't think anybody's capable of improving so much that they could beat her on her best day.
Okay, let's skip ahead to tomorrow now just for a moment and talk about the Kentucky Derby, where the favorite on the morning line and in the early betting, California Chrome.
To me, it's the quintessential conflict between the eyeball test, which tells you that California Chrome is by far the best horse in the field, and all those sophisticated speed figure metrics that say that he either has only a slight edge or no edge at all. And then there's the trip he's liable to get. Will he get the same trip he got at Santa Anita? If he doesn't, will he win? Wayne Lucas always likes to say, the horse has the answer. Well, I can't wait to see California Chrome give us the answer tomorrow.
Well, but if it's not California Chrome, I've had a tough time coming up. They all seem to be kind of the same after that, except maybe Wicked Strong, who had a big performance in the Wood Memorial.
He might have an edge on the rest of the field, but we're talking about trips. I mean, they all have to have trips. As a rider, the best horse isn't always going to get there first. You have to have a little luck, and Wicked Strong is probably going to get a good trip because the speed in the race will materialize. Stringing the field out and allowing his jockey, Rajiv Mirage, to kind of filter in as he goes to that first turn. And I say if he gets into the 3 path going to the first turn, it's a win for him. And then he'll use his big kick to run down the speed.
And I think Danza has an outstanding chance as well. I mean, I came to Churchill Downs prepared to take a stand against Danza. He had such an easy trip in the Arkansas Derby. Got through along the inside, but he has looked so good here in training this week at Churchill Downs. He's made a believer out of me. I don't know if he's fast enough to win, but he very, very well may be.
He's only raced 4 times, but it was a big one in the Arkansas Derby. All right, well, much more to come from Churchill Downs this afternoon, including the 140th Kentucky Oaks. That's the highlight of the day. But coming up, Derby and Oaks Classic. That's up next here on NBC SM. All right, they're loading into the gate, as you see, for the 135th Kentucky Oaks. With the call, here's Tom Durkin.
There's Rachel Alexander, number 6, number 7, Nan. And the final one to move in this field of 7 is Flying Spur, number 8. Once again, it was late scratch. Just Whistle Dixie was scratched. Ready to go, and they are off in the Kentucky Oaks. And going right to the lead, it's going to be Gabby's Golden Girl. Gabby's Golden Girl takes the early lead. Rachel Alexandra, though, comes right out, right alongside her second as they move by us for the first time.
And then it's B Fair's down on the rail running in third. Flying Spurs alongside her in fourth. Tweeter in behind those two in fifth position. And then Stone Legacy is sixth, and Nan is the last of seven. Around the clubhouse turn here at Churchill Downs. And Gabby's Golden Gal is the leader. Heavily favored Rachel Alexander, a cool and calculated second. Got an opening quarter of 23 and 3/5 seconds. B Fair third on the inside. Flying Spur, Garrett Gomez says go with her early on. She's up to be third now on the outside of B Fair. Then a break of 3 back to stablemates Tweeter and Stone Legacy. Nan trails the field. It's still Gabby's Golden Gal, the leader. Still glued to her flank is Rachel Alexandra through a half mile in 47 and 2/5 seconds. Pace has been reasonable. There's a half mile to go. Calvin Burrell still sitting chilly on Rachel Alexander. Still off the flank of front running Gabby's Golden Gal. And now he makes a move. Just a little nudge, and they're head-to-head for the lead now. And now the tempo's starting to quicken as they move toward the top of the stretch. Here's Rachel Alexandra, who takes the lead. Rachel Alexandra takes the lead just outside the quarter pole. She did it willingly and really had no resistance whatsoever from Gabby's Golden Gal. And now Rachel Alexander's opening up. 5 lengths on the field. 6. Oh, a tour de force by the super filly, Rachel Alexander. Calvin Burrell isn't moving a muscle on her. She's going to destroy this field. Oh, super filly, you bet. What's the final margin? She might have won by 20. Rachel Alexander was absolutely spectacular in 1 minute 48 and 4/5 seconds. Stone Legacy was well beaten in second, and finishing third there was Flying Spur. Unbelievable.
Never a doubt. The only muscle that Calvin Burrell moved were his neck muscles, looking around to see if anybody was even close, and that started at the quarter pole.
And Hal Wiggins worried that he worked too fast the other morning. That's how hard he was pulling on her the other morning when she had her workout. Final time of the race, 1:48 and 4. That is flying racehorse time.
That's
I don't care if they're male or female.
Almost a stakes record. There is the Hal Wiggins, the trainer of Rachel Alexandra. Donna is with Calvin Burrell.
Calvin, all I can say is, wow. Tell me about it.
She's unbelievable. She's one of the best fillies I've ever been on in my life. I just want to thank the owners and the trainers for the opportunity to ride a horse like this, because I've been in the business for 30 years and I've never been on one like this.
Horses like this don't come very easy.
No, ma'am, they don't.
How do you think she would have fared against the boys in tomorrow's race?
I tell you the truth. I'm happy they didn't run her, but I don't think they could have run with her. You know.
Do you know how far you won by? I think Tom Durkin called you in front by 20.
I just let her gallop, baby. She was doing it on her own, and you know, she's the greatest horse I've ever been on in my life. She does what I want her to do, and I never asked her yet, so I don't know how good she is.
We know she's pretty good. Congratulations, Calvin.
Thank you very much.
And Tom, as you might expect, another emotional victory for Calvin Burrell.
Yeah, genuine emotion from Calvin Burrell aboard Rachel Alexandra. And a happy Hal Wiggins is with Kenny Rice.
All right, thanks, Tom. Hal, you're waiting for her to come back and receive more glory. What about that effort?
Well, just tremendous, more than what I thought I had, to tell you the truth.
And as you saw her pull away and dominate, and maybe the greatest performance in about 10 years since Silver Bullet Day, did you think, you know, maybe I should have waited one more day to take on those boys?
No, I was so happy for the day, I never entered my mind. It might later, but not then.
Did you think it'd be this easy?
No, I did not, and I'm so sorry for the people. The connections was just Whistle-Dixie. They were here for the moment, and it was the last moment deal, and my heart's out to them. It really is.
They scratched, you went on, and you went big, and do you just relax now and see what happens?
I hope so. Thank you very much.
All right, a huge day for him, Tom. He said this is the biggest race of his career, and wow, did she ever perform for him.
I'll say Rachel Alexandra, owned by the L&M partners, Dolphus Morrison and Michael Laufer. 3-year-old filly by Medaglia d'Oro out of Lotta Kim by Roar, bred in Kentucky by one of her owners, Dolphus Morrison.
Here's the 4-horse, Gabby's Golden Girl, right next to her, Rachel Alexander. Watch the stride difference when they come down about 50 yards away from there. Calvin Burrell, very confident. He lets Victor Espinoza and Gabby's Golden Gal go straight to the lead. But look at the length of stride you see here and the length of stride you see here. Totally different. It's like 2-to-1 stride. Calvin Burrell knows the race is over at this point pretty much. Headed into the backstretch. Calvin Burrell, once again, all he has in front of him is a target. He knows it's a target. You see the rhythm of Victor Espinosa's arms pick up here dramatically. As Calvin Burrell, look at his arms, motionless. As he continues, he takes a little peek back there. He's a long ways from home, boss.
There's the quarter pole, and he's just looking around already because he knows he is well in hand and nothing is running at him. He's put away the only challenge from Gabby's Golden Gal easily. Nothing's running late. And Hal Wiggins. Wow. Rachel Alexandra has won the Kentucky Oaks by over 20 lengths, paying $260, $220, and $210. That looks generous considering how easily she won. Stone Legacy was second. Flying Spur was third. That Exacta paid $45.20, and you saw the other payouts as well. Here's the complete order of finish. Rachel Alexandra winning officially by 20 1/4 lengths over Stone Legacy. Flying Spur finishing third. They'll be racing for $1 million shortly with $564,000 to the winner. And the stakes record 148.64. Temperature 74 degrees, cooling off a little bit after the rain shower. As the odds show, Grace Hall, the 5-2 favorite. On Fire Baby at 4-1. Broadway's Alibi is at 9-2. And let's go to Larry Kalmus for the call of the 138th Kentucky Oaks.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. Just one more to go in. Yara will come up to the outside stall, and we'll have 14 fantastic fillies. All in line and ready for the start. They're off in the Kentucky Oaks. Squeezed back a bit at the break was Jemima's Pearl. There goes Broadway's Alibi. And now to the outside, Believe You Can is right up with her. Colonial Empress, the maiden, is there on the outside in third. On Fire Baby fourth, Grace Hall is fifth. And now Eden's Moon will tuck in behind horses. She's running in sixth, coming from off the pace today and 5 lengths off the lead. Then Summer Applause, Carla Vivari. On the far outside, Amy's Dini. Down toward the rail, Hard Not to Like is after that. Jemima's Pearl is past a few. Yara's near the back of the field. And Why Not is second last. Sacristy is the trailer. 23 flat for the opening quarter mile, so it's a solid pace for Broadway's Alibi, who leads the way 3/4 of a length. Believe You Can second. Colonial Empress third. On the inside is a hard-held And Why Not. She's anxious to go, and she's going to need some running room. On Fire Baby there, fourth on the inside. As they continue through a half mile in 47 2/5 seconds. Broadway's Alibi is the leader as the field moves into the far turn. On Fire Baby trying to slip through an opening on the inside. Right next to her is Believe You Can as they move for the turn. Colonial Empress is still in position. Grace Hall is now being ridden a bit by Javier Castellano. She's in between horses as they round the turn. And then it's Amy's Dini to the outside. Down toward the inside, Summer Applause is next. Jemima's Pearl with work to do. It's still Broadway's Alibi at the top of the stretch, and Believe You Can, and they're side by side. Broadway's Alibi and Believe You Can, 3 lengths in front of Grace Hall, who's third with work to do. And now it is Believe You Can on the outside and Broadway's Alibi at the rail, who continue to go at it. Rosita Pravnik and Believe You Can. Broadway's Alibi and John Velasquez on the inside. Believe You Can, Broadway's Alibi. Believe You Can. Rosita Pravnik, the first female rider to win the Kentucky Oaks. And then it was Grace Hall third, and Summer Applause was fourth.
Larry Jones accepting congratulations, and Believe You Can, Rosie. You lost by a neck last year to trying to become the first female rider to win the Oaks. And in a prolonged stretch duel with Johnny V, John Velasquez, one of the best in the business, Rosie and Believe You Can prevail to win the Oaks.
One of the strongest finishers in the business, Johnny Velasquez. And Rosie Napravnik, if you've never seen her ride before, she can finish on a racehorse, and she is one of the best. It's not just she can ride with the best, she is one of the best in the nation.
And what a gutsy filly this is. Believe You Can showed it last time in the Fairgrounds Oaks. Larry Jones referenced it before the race. She fought hard from start to finish. She looked like she was going to get beat last time, but she held on gamely. And now She does it again.
Here we go with the replay right here, and you can see Rosie. She was sitting chilly coming into the stretch. She hadn't asked this filly for her best run. She waited until they straightened out, and then she pulled the trigger. She asked for everything that she had. She accelerated, and this is a game Broadway's Alibi down on the inside. She doesn't want to let go easily, but she had to at the end.
You know, Brereton Jones, the former governor of Kentucky, first noticed trainer Larry Jones in 1993, was impressed with him, went up to him and said, "I want to give you a horse to train. Would you take it?" And Larry said, "Sure." And Larry didn't hear again from the governor until 2006. He thought he was just a typical politician that didn't follow through on his promises, and now you can't separate them.
Larry Jones reacting as he gets the Oaks. Let's go to Donna.
Rosie, with this win in the Kentucky Oaks, you become the first female jockey to win this race, but more importantly, you get your first Kentucky Oaks win. What's this mean to you?
It's unbelievable. I can't even tell you. And, you know, Brereton was telling me in the paddock, he said, I just can't believe you're such a cool as a cucumber. And I was just thinking in the post-race, you know, this stuff doesn't make me nervous. It makes me happy, and I love what I'm doing. And I'm just so thankful for them to bring me here and let me ride this filly because she's awesome. And I'm thankful to Larry and so many people. I just want to say hi to everybody in Maryland because I've had so many people supporting me to get to this point. I'm just so grateful.
I can hear the emotion in your voice. Is it about the support that you got to get here?
Absolutely. I've had so many great influences. Dickie Small, Holly Robinson, the list goes on. And you know, Larry's been great supporting me in the last 6 months, and I'm just so happy. And this is me and my dreams coming true. So we're grateful.
You made it happen. You had to work through the stretch. You showed what a strong rider you are. Johnny didn't give you anything through the stretch. Johnny Velasquez, how hard did you have to fight for this win?
We didn't let up on each other the whole way. I mean, it was kind of a let's see how the pace sets up scenario, and I loved our position. And it was just who was going to be the better horse. And to be honest with you, to be riding down the stretch with Johnny Velasquez and win my first Grade 1 and it being the Kentucky Oaks, that's a great feeling.
Does this make up for the defection of Mark Valesky, your Derby mount for tomorrow that is not running?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a disappointment, but this, I think, will carry me through the week until next week when he's supposed to run. So he's still a really nice horse, and I'm sure he'll get plenty of shots.
I think this might carry you further than a week.
You're probably right. But no, I'm looking forward to getting on him again. And even though he's not in the Derby, he's still a very talented horse. And I'm really looking forward to riding him for the summer.
Well, Rose, well done. And as a former female jockey, I am very proud of you and proud to be the one interviewing you. Continued success.
Thank you.
The first female jockey to win the Kentucky Oaks. And believe you can pay $29, $60, $11.80, and $6.40. Broadway's Alibi game second. Grace Hall was third, the favorite. The Exacta paid $173, a $293 try, and the Super $1,872.
Malibu Moon is a horse you can believe in because of his pedigree and his looks, and because of the ability.
You're watching NBCSN, home of the Triple Crown.
A little more than 24 hours before the Kentucky Derby, the weekend in Louisville actually begins with the annual prelude. And that, of course, is the Kentucky Oaks. So there's a Friday afternoon party going on now, and it's in full swing at Churchill Downs. The fastest 3-year-old fillies will race for the Garland of Lilies and a jackpot of $1 million. A familiar face is in the spotlight today, 26-year-old Rosie Napravnik. She won this race 2 years ago, and today she rides the favorite Untappable, a horse that, if entered in the Derby tomorrow, would, according to some experts, actually be among the favorites in that race too. Now that's the sunny side of the story, a glaring contrast to the recent controversy surrounding Untappable's trainer, Steve Asmussen. So more on the Asmussen situation ahead, along with a full preview of a race in which Todd Pletcher has a pair of contenders and Bob Baffert brings Ria Antonia into the field. Baffert is looking for his third career Oaks win. It all takes place on a day when fashion statements have a pink hue to them. And there's a striking new addition as well at Churchill Downs. a giant video board affording a clear view of the race, no matter where you may be, among the 100,000 here today and the 150,000 expected tomorrow. This is the 140th Kentucky Oaks, presented by Longines. A breezy Friday in Louisville, a little more than 24 hours from the Kentucky Derby. This is the 140th running of the Kentucky Oaks. Temperatures are in the high 50s. Tomorrow, morning line favorite, California Chrome in the Derby at 5-2. Wicked Strong, now the second choice at 8-1. Untappable, as we just said, is the favorite and a pretty clear-cut favorite with Rosie Napravnik aboard at 8-5 in the upcoming Oaks. And with more on that and to talk about the Derby ahead, kind of a mixture of coverage of the Oaks and a preview of the Derby tomorrow, to lead us through all of that, Tom Hammond.
All right, Bob, thank you very much. And it is a little chilly today, but I think the horses like it just fine at 59 degrees, cloudy skies. The track, though, is fast as they race 1 1/8 for $1 million in the Longines Kentucky Oaks. But we'll begin with some bonus coverage. The Edgewood, $150,000 for 3-year-old fillies, 1 1/16 on the turf course. And here are the current odds for the Edgewood, as Candy Kitty is the 2-1 favorite, 3-1 on A Little Bit Sassy, 3.5-1, as you see on Little Journey. So those are the odds for the Edgewood Stakes, which is an area of Louisville just close to Churchill Downs, as we look at the favorite, Candy Kitty.
And John Velasquez wearing the same Starlight Racing silks he will wear tomorrow in the Kentucky Derby on Intense Holiday. Both horses also trained by Todd Pletcher. She deserves to be the favorite because of her 2 most recent grass races. Again, this race is on the grass. Her races I'm talking about were in Miami, a first and a second in stakes competition.
And taking a look at Granny Mac's Kitten, who is wearing the Ken and Sarah Ramsey colors, and the Ramseys have won this race the last 2 years.
Yeah, they have. They won it with Stephanie's Kippen a couple years ago, and Kitten's Dumpling last year. Granny Mac's Kitten is a full sister to Kitten's Dumpling. You see jockey Joel Rosario. Remember him from last year? He won the Derby aboard Orb. So these Kitten's Joys, all these kitten horses are doing very well on the turf.
They always do, don't they? 6-1 on Granny Mac's Kitten at the moment. And Little Journey is an interesting horse right now at 7-2. Little Journey from France, making her first U.S. start.
And like Granny Mac's Kitten, Little Journey races out of the barn of trainer Chad Brown. Hasn't run since last November. Interesting statistic. Chad Brown tends to specialize in these horses coming over from Europe. As a matter of fact, over the last 5 years, when he takes these European fillies and runs them in America for the first time, his win percentage, believe it or not, 43%, including 4 horses that won a stakes in their first start for him in this country.
Pretty impressive. And A Little Bit Sassy is also drawing some attention at the Mutual Windows, trained by Michael Matz, who had his greatest moment with Barbaro here, winning the Kentucky Derby.
A Little Bit Sassy she's probably going to be a part of the pace scenario. She has done it different ways. A couple of races back, she got squeezed at the start at Belmont, had to come from practically last, very wide, probably should have won that. So even though she might be close to the pace, she can do it either way.
At the 2-1 favorite remains the 4-horse, and that is Candy Kitty.
John Velasquez here, having won this race last year, a couple years ago, actually, with Stephanie's Kitten. Very well versed, coming off his injury in the Breeders' Cup last year. Took him a little while to get going this year, but he's in full steam right now, riding at his best form.
Her last race was terrible. It was in the Ashland Stakes at Keeneland against some of the fillies we'll see in the Kentucky Oaks, but that was on the synthetic racing surface they call polytrack. Some horses like it, some horses don't. Now she's back on grass, which is her preferred racing surface, I think.
So they're loading into the gate for the Edgewood. Again, it's for 3-year-old fillies at 1 1/16 on the grass, and the purse is $150,000.
For the pace in this race, watch the 6 and the 7, especially the 7 Istan Ford, but the 6 A Little Bit Sassy, who we've already talked about, also has a lot of early speed as well.
There goes the favorite, Candy Kitty, and John Velasquez. And for the call of the Edgewood, here's Larry Colmus.
And just one left to go into the starting gate here. VV Goodnight will be the last one to load under Alan Garcia, and they're all in line, ready for the start of the Edgewood. They're off. And it was a good beginning here It is Granny Max Kitten who came out well, but to the outside is Stanford. Goes up and after the lead, and it's Stanford will make the early pace here as they go by us the first time. And then it's a little bit Sassy running along in second. Courageous Julie is third, and racing about 4 lengths off the lead early as they make their way toward that turn. These three will lead the way, and right alongside is Little Journey, who's in fourth. Then comes Candy Kitty, Miss Machiavelli to the inside. Break of two to Phony Farish, who's outside of Granny Max Kitten riding the rail. VV Goodnight is last of them all. They went 24 flat for the opening quarter, and they're on to the back stretch. Is Stanford and Javier Castellano out there by a length and a half. A little bit Sassy follows in second. Courageous Julie third. Little Journey is fourth. Candy Kitty follows in fifth, 5 lengths off the lead. Miss Machiavelli is next to the inside. Then it's Phony Farish, Granny Max Kitten, and VV Goodnight. 48-2 was the half mile, and now the field races into the far turn. Is Stanford on top by 3/4 of a length. A little bit Sassy second to the outside. These two take them around the far turn, with Candy Kitty beginning to move up in third on the outside of Little Journey. Then Courageous Julie on the inside. VV Goodnight circling up 4 wide, and Granny Max getting their into the stretch. Is Stanford and a little bit Sassy. A little bit Sassy on the outside as Stanford keeps on battling at the rail. They're 3 in front of Little Journey. Then comes VV Goodnight and Granny Max Kitten on the far outside. A little bit Sassy and Luis Saez have the lead close to home, and a little bit Sassy will prevail. Is Stanford was second best under the wire. Then came Little Journey and VV Goodnight.
So a little bit Sassy with jockey Luis Saez gets to the wire first. It was a long shot on the morning line, but had been attracting some attention at the neutral windows. And a little bit Sassy, the unofficial winner of the Edgewood for trainer Michael Matz.
You know, even going into this race, it looked like on paper a little bit Sassy could go up with the lead with Stanford early, but Luis Saez made it a conscious effort early as they went by the stands the first time to ease her back, took a great hold of her to get her back off the lead. Then he eased her out down the backside, getting ready, setting up to launch his run. She relaxed somewhat then as she went to the far turn, and she just exploded when she turned for home. I think the decision to save her a little bit, not go out there early with the race, was paid dividends here, because as he turns for home, jockey Luis Saez just tips her out about the 3 path, asks her for her best, and the filly on the inside is Stanford. She's not laying down, and the filly's running at her pretty good steam. Very good finish.
A lot of times when you see a jockey take as aggressive a hold as Luis Saez did early in the race, he's sort of taking the fight out of his horse, but obviously a little bit Sassy had plenty of fight left.
Well, you don't always have to be a hero and to find the the hole on the inside. Just get him out in the clear, save him a little bit, and use your mind.
A little bit Sassy had made her first start since October, early April at Keeneland, and got a little tired, led most of the way, and then tired, finishing second, beaten 2 lengths, but comes back, obviously benefited from that race, and looked good today to win the Edgewood. So there is a little bit Sassy winning the Edgewood on the Oaks undercard. Still much more to come from Churchill Downs today as the Kentucky Oaks, the Derby for fillies, kicks off Kentucky Derby weekend. Mike Smith looking today for back-to-back Kentucky Oaks wins, presented by Longines.
30 seconds to know. Simplifying sports.
$120 bonus.
Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, the odds-on favorite for superior performance. Goodyear, more driven. The aerial view of Churchill Downs, and of course the Twin Spires, the signature, the iconic signature of Churchill Downs, where we've just had one of the races on the undercard, Kentucky Oaks Day. It's the Edgewood, won by a little bit Sassy, trained by Michael Matz and owned by Ramona Bass. A more than ready filly, paid $10.20 by Stanford in second place. Little Journey third. A 6-7 exacta ticket worth $67. The trifecta $183, and the superfecta $1,485. And so we're underway on this Kentucky Derby weekend, and we'll bring you up to date on all of the Derby doings. But our primary focus today is on the 3-year-old fillies 13 of them racing in the $1 million Kentucky Oaks. And over the years, 26 Oaks winners went on to finish the year as champion 3-year-old filly. So here's the way they'll enter the starting gate for the Oaks today. Please Explain on the inside, who was 7th in the Fantasy Stakes. Rhea Antonia, 2nd in the Santa Anita Oaks. Sugar Shot, winner of 4 in a row, including the Fantasy. Rosalind, who dead heated for the win in the Ashland Stakes. Thank You Mary Lou, 3rd in the Ashland. Kiss Moon, 2nd in the Fantasy. Fashion Plate, winner of the Santa Anita Oaks. Aurelia's Bell, winner of the Bourbonette Oaks. Unbridled Forever, she was 3rd in the Fairgrounds Oaks. Empress of Midway, 2nd the Sunland Park Oaks. My Miss Sophia has won 2 of 3, including the Gazelle. Got Lucky, 2nd in the Gazelle. And Untappable, winner of the Fairgrounds Oaks by nearly 8 lengths. And she is the current 8-5 favorite. And we welcome in our experts, Randy Moss and Hall of Fame jockey Jerry Bailey. And let's talk about this Kentucky Oaks with the favorite Untappable on the outside with Rosie Napravnik.
I thought she'd be a shorter price than 8-5. Her 2 races in Louisiana this year were so impressive that if she was running in the Derby tomorrow, I think she'd be the 2nd betting choice behind California Chrome. It's funny. They say she doesn't like people. She runs people out of her stall. Well, I tell you, people really like her. The way she's been running, she deserves to be a very strong favorite.
Well, while she was winning the Fairgrounds Oaks by an impressive margin, My Miss Sophia was looking good in New York.
Yeah, she was. She didn't start until January of this year, so she's improving. She's playing catch-up, much like the Kentucky Wildcats did in the NCAA tournament, and they almost got there. Her win in the Gazelle was awesome. Now, she won on the lead because it was a slow pace, but she can prompt the pace as well. And if she does that, it'll be hot up front, setting it up for horses like Rosalind and Rhea Antonia.
Rhea Antonia won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies last November by disqualification at odds of 32-1. She has that big stretch kick, which plays well here at Churchill Downs because this track has one of the longest stretch runs of any major track in America.
So that's the Kentucky Oaks, our featured race of the day. $1 million purse on the line here at Churchill Downs with a big crowd on hand for the Oaks, as has become the tradition. Of course, the Twin Spires so recognizable. Millionaires Row, that's where the swells hang out, but in the infield, the party is non-stop, Oaks and Derby Day. Jockey's Room, the jockeys hang out there between races. Of course, the stars of the show are the horses. They're saddled there in the stable area, the barns in the backstretch. The paddock is where they go to be saddled before the race, and of course, all trying to reach that finish line first. Of course, there is a big new feature here at Churchill Downs this year, and look where Donna is. She's right next to that video board.
Tom, this is my view from 8 stories up, standing in the stairwell of the big board. I'm 5'3", 100 pounds, but larger than life on the largest 4K ultra high definition board in the world. This thing is massive, 15,000 square feet, or about the size of 5 average-sized American homes. In case you're worried about it blowing over, don't. These steel pillars go 35 feet into the ground, into 45 feet of concrete. It's 17 stories tall at the top. And from where I'm standing, one heck of a great view of the track. Let's go to Bob Newmeyer.
Well, the question is, how good is Untappable? Randy Moss said that people would likely make her the 2nd choice in the Kentucky Derby against the boys tomorrow. I would make her the #1 choice if she ran against the boys in the Derby tomorrow. She's just that good. Her last 2 races, sensational, tactical speed, excellent closing kick. 1 cautionary tail, post position, 13, not good. Since 2000, at a 1.8 mile distance here at Churchill Downs, post 12 and out have this record: 3 wins in 42 tries. Here's Mike Battaglia.
Well, Untappable will be tough, and Untappable was bred by her owner, but some of these horses went through the sale, and a few of them have proved to be quite good bargains. Take a look at Rosalind, $70,000 as a yearling. She's a Grade 1 winner of over $550,000 already. How about Sugar Shot? They only paid $20,000 for her. She's already made $337,000. But the best bargain of them all, Rhea Antonia. Rhea Antonia was a $9,000 yearling purchase. She won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, total of $1.2 million in earnings. Let's go to Kenny Rice.
Mike, you mentioned Rosalind. She is owned by Ray Struder. He has been confined to a wheelchair since a high school football accident, but it has never limited his passion for sports and adventure. He left his Knoxville, Tennessee home to attend college at San Diego State University, and that's where he fell in love with horse racing. He would take the bus daily to Del Mar, and there he saw a magnificent filly, Landa Lucy. Her name is actually in his stable. He always had an affinity for having a great filly someday when he had enough money to own a horse. He came back to Knoxville, made enough money, got into the business about 4 years ago. He's here with Rosalind, who's already been in the Breeders' Cup. He's hoping today that she's in the winner's circle of the Oaks. Let's go to Lafitte Pinkai.
Kenny, we just heard Mike Battaglia say that Rhea Antonia cost $9,000 at purchase. Her jockey and trainer, Bob Baffert and Mike Smith, have earned a combined $450 million. They're Hall of Famers. Bob Baffert has already won this Oaks on 2 separate occasions. Silver Bullet Day and most recent with Plum Pretty. Mike Smith shocked the racing world last year when he won the Oaks with Princess Asilmar at 38-1. Smith and Baffert looking to make the most of this opportunity. No pun intended. The colt they were hoping to team up with in tomorrow's Kentucky Derby. Opportunity scratched yesterday. Let's say hello to Carolyn Mano.
Well, Lafitte, I'm so thrilled to be at Churchill Downs for the first time and see up close and personal the role that fashion has played here for well over a century. Everybody is decked out in their very best. They're wearing pink, of course, because it's Oaks Day. And coming up, we will be joined by the chicest members of our broadcast team, Tara Lipinski and Johnny Weir, to go over the top trends. It's a party behind me in the paddock area, but everything really kicked off last night. It was the 5th annual Taste of the Derby presented by Stella Artois. Celebrity chefs from all over the country, including many Top Chef favorites, came to cook their signature dishes for the Derby Week crowd. The event raises money for hunger relief organizations. It's contributed over $3,500 since its inception in 2010. We'll be back with more from the 140th Kentucky Derby right after this.
After a long day of doing man stuff, me and the fellas trust new Dial for Men power scrub to give us...
You can find these very cool Vine videos like this one. Our social media team have put them together here at Churchill Downs. And we'd like to know who you think will win the Kentucky Oaks today. Just go to Facebook and vote for your favorite. That's at facebook.com/NBC Sports. And some familiar faces from the world of sports taking in the Oaks. Scottie Pippen is here today, and so is Aaron Rodgers. And Clay Matthews is here as well. Some of the notables taking in the Oaks, and no doubt the Derby tomorrow as well. Let's go back to Carolyn Mano.
Well, Tom, if you think it's competitive on the track, it is also competitive where we are. Earlier today, Churchill Downs celebrated the most stylish patrons at the Longines Kentucky Oaks Fashion Contest. A lot of trends, lots of style, of course, big hats. Our well-dressed contest winner, Griselda Breen from Miami Beach, Florida. She earned a Longines watch to add to her ensemble. Welcome back, everybody. I am joined now by Tara Lipinski and Johnny Weir, our fashion experts. But not only that, you guys also have some history when it comes to horse riding. Is that right, Johnny?
That's right. Both of us rode when we were very young, and I actually was an English saddle rider and jumped and showed at Devon and had a beautiful horse named Shadow.
And I had Moonray, but I had to choose between skating or the horse. I think I chose right, but I missed Moonray.
I think you guys both made the right choice. Well, everybody fell in love with you during the Sochi Olympics. We were listening to your analysis, but also watching what you were wearing. So let's talk about some of the trends that we should be seeing this weekend, starting with hatinators. Am I saying that right?
That's right.
What is that?
It's, you know, it's a cross between the classic derby hat and a fascinator that we saw at Prince William's wedding, for example. And I really think that Tara Lipinski had a part in bringing this back because she wore it in Sochi, but it's really good for weaving through this huge crowd we have on hand, and it's so fashionable and chic.
Yeah, I love fascinators. They can be modern and chic, like Johnny said, but then at the Derby, you have to wear a hat. So you just mash it up into one.
The next trend that we want to highlight, statement jewelry, which we've seen a lot of today.
Yeah, I love statement jewelry. The one thing I would be, and Johnny does it so well. If anyone does it.
And this one over here.
Well, you're doing it perfectly because you do the classic look and there's not too much. If the hat is too crazy and the dress is too crazy, you don't want to go too crazy with the accessories.
So the Kentucky Oaks, all about pink, of course. We've all done a pretty nice job with that. But pink, and bright pink in particular, Johnny, is a big trend this weekend.
Well, I feel like winter was terrible for so many people around the country that everyone's celebrating the season. Everyone loves that hot pink moment just to break off, shake off that snow, and get back into spring and summer.
I mean, we're in the South, it's summer. I'm ready for color.
Okay, so we know that the jockey silks are unique. Everybody has their own colors, everyone has their own pattern. So we're going to pick the one that you like the best and the one that you like the least. Let's start with the best one, and that is Uncle Si. And as we take a look at that, it goes to a great cause. Wounded Warrior Project has ownership of the horse, and the proceeds from some of his earnings go to help veterans. So that's a great way to be fashionable at the same time, right?
It really is, and to be honest, I probably would have gone with that just because of the cause, even if it was the worst looking one.
I mean, supporting a cause is always chic.
Okay, now the worst one is actually the favorite for the Kentucky Derby, California Chrome, but it's got a jackass on the actual silk itself. They're owned by Dumbass Partners. That's the reason why. But is that in fashion at all?
I feel like
humorous.
No, it's humorous, but no. These are thoroughbreds. They're the blue blood of the horses, and I don't think that they would appreciate that whole jackass moment. But California Chrome is awesome with his yellow bridle, and he's so chic. We met him earlier today.
He's like, it's all about my talent. Doesn't matter what I'm wearing.
He's stray chic. No jackasses allowed in fashion, Tom.
All right, Carolyn, and Jerry and I have been admiring Randy's outfit today up here on the booth as well. Well, coming up, Derby news, California Chrome, the solid favorite. He's on a 4-race winning streak, but he'll have to contend with Wood Memorial winner Wicked Strong. While 3-time Kentucky Derby winner Calvin Burrell is up on long shot, Ride on Curlin.
Back now at Churchill Downs, where all week long the contenders in tomorrow's Derby have been on the track for morning workouts. The morning line favorite, as you know, is California Chrome. He comes into the Derby on an impressive run, and that's an understatement. He's won his last 4 races by a combined 24 lengths. The original second choice, Bob Baffert's Opportunity, was scratched yesterday. That made Wicked Strong, named for roots in New England, the next best bet on the morning line. And in case you're wondering, Danza is in fact named for the actor Tony Danza, who will be in attendance at the Derby tomorrow. Danza was the boss at the Arkansas Derby at 41-1, and he's been among the most talked about contenders this past week. And Intense Holiday is one of Todd Pletcher's 4 contenders. The horses look strong at the Churchill Downs track during workouts this week. And here at Turn 1, those are just some of the stories surrounding tomorrow's race. There's also Gary Stevens, the 3-time Derby winner who came out of retirement last year at the age of 50 and then proceeded to win the Preakness and the Breeders' Cup Classic. Now at 51, he's riding Candy Boy. And then there's Rosie Napravnik, who's riding the favorite Untappable in today's Oaks and will be aboard Vickers in Trouble tomorrow. She drew post 1, that's all the way on the inside for the Derby, which could present a challenge as she tries to become the first female jockey ever to win the Kentucky Derby. The weather forecast for tomorrow, absolutely perfect. Partly cloudy, mostly sunny actually though, high in the mid-70s, should be terrific. Meanwhile, here's a look at the latest Derby odds. And right now, California Chrome is the choice at 5-2. Wicked Strong moves up to the second choice at 8-1. And Danza is 9-1. And for more on the Derby, we go back to Tom Hammond. Tom.
All right, Bob, and this is a Kentucky Derby rich in interesting stories, and California Chrome chief among them. He has won those last 4 races, seemingly getting better each time. He was very impressive when he won the Santa Anita Derby, but he's never run outside California.
And he's had things his own way in all 4 of those wins. The last time he didn't have things his own way was last November. He broke slowly, dirt in his face. He finished a pretty poor 6th. If he brings his good race, he's probably 2 or 3 lengths better than these, but he doesn't always do that.
Wicked Strong, to me, is an interesting horse, too. We saw him the same day as the Santa Anita Derby, won by California Chrome. We saw Wicked Strong in the Wood Memorial in New York.
Oh, and he had a wicked stretch run in that race. I mean, time-wise, figure-wise, it was almost as good as California Chrome. His Boston-based ownership changed his name last year to Wicked Strong in tribute to that city's resolute reaction to the Boston Marathon tragedy. And let's not forget Danza, the Arkansas Derby winner. I mean, he might have been a shock in Arkansas, but he has looked so good here this week in Kentucky. I have now joined Tony Danza on the bandwagon.
Only 4 career starts, though. Going 1.25 miles with 19 horses might be a test for him, so inexperienced. But there are lots of other stories in this Derby. Let's check in with some of them now. First with Bob Newmeyer.
Yeah, Tom, you know, like father, like sons, that best describes the Jerkins family. Son, Jimmy Jerkins, of course, saddles Wicked Strong. He's 8-1, the second choice of the morning line. This is Jimmy's first Kentucky Derby experience. His brother Stephen was here back in 1983, saddling Pax in Bello, unsuccessful. And then there is the dad of Jimmy and Stevens, the legendary, the chief himself, Alan Jerkins, the giant killer, they called him, 85 years old, still in training. He saddled 3 Kentucky Derby horses, he too unsuccessful. See, you can imagine the emotion if Wicked Strong should win this race. Both those linked to the marathon bombings and the Jerkins family themselves. Here's Lafitte.
It's only happened 4 times in the history of this storied event. Brothers riding against one another in the Kentucky Derby. For Puerto Rican brothers Irad Jr. and Jose Ortiz, that's exactly what's going to happen tomorrow afternoon. 21-year-old Irad will ride Uncle Si. He says everyone back home is really proud of he and his younger brother. Jose, 20 years old, will ride Samrot in the Kentucky Derby, and he's quick to point out, we're just here to win. I do root for my brother when I'm not riding against him. When I ride against him, I just want to beat him. Somewhat of a brotherly battle going on in tomorrow's Run for the Roses. Let's go to Donna Brothers.
Well, Lafitte, the Ortiz brothers are new to the Kentucky Derby. So is trainer Billy Gowan, or Bronco Billy Gowan, as he's more widely known on the backside. Gowan is having his first Kentucky starter tomorrow. That's Ride on Curlin, but he's enlisted the services of 3-time Kentucky Derby winning jockey Calvin Burrell. Now, of course, Ride on Curlin is only going to have 1 chance to win the Kentucky Derby. But with only 4 horses in his modest stable, this might be Bronco Billy's 1 chance to win the Kentucky Derby as well. Let's go to Bob.
Well, Donna, for the 140th time, the Kentucky Oaks is the prelude to the Derby. But for the first time here at Churchill Downs, and in fact for the first time here in any capacity for NBC Sports, we'd like to welcome Josh Elliott to our broadcast team. Josh.
Thank you, Bob. I can't thank you enough. I am truly honored to join the team here at NBC Sports and thrilled to do it here at Churchill Downs, and not just because all the pomp and grandeur and tens of thousands of hats are actually even better in person. No, the draw for me my entire life, and I know for so many watching at home, the race. The race is the thing, or really the race is today, the Oaks later today, and of course the 140th running of the Kentucky Derby tomorrow. The favorite tomorrow, again, as we've all been mentioning, California Chrome. Earlier, Randy Moss said he passed the eyeball test, but he has certainly taken, well, a track less traveled to this point. The favorite, nevertheless, at the windows. And to my immediate left, where I am now joined by California Chrome co-owner Steve Coburn and his trainer Art Sherbin. First of all, welcome to you both, and congratulations to you both for being here.
Thank you very much.
Steve, I want to start with you. This was all the product of, well, you and your co-owner Perry Smith seeing something in a mare that nobody else saw. You managed to breed her, and first time out, you got a powerhouse in the making. What's it like then to be here now?
Well, I hope Perry Martin doesn't get upset that you called him Perry Smith.
Apologies.
But anyhow, you know, the breeding of this colt was something that just came by. I can't explain it. I really can't. $8,000 mare, bred it to a $2,000 sire, and all the stars and the moons must have been lined up in the universe just right, because we've got this wonderful, wonderful horse. But the pedigree of both of them, if you go back 5 and 6 generations, the bloodlines are just absolutely phenomenal. And for 2 guys, 2 normal guys that pull on their boots every day and go to work, to hit this right the first time, I haven't got a clue what the odds are on that. And I live in Nevada, where they make odds. I don't think they would even want to make odds on something like that. So he's just a fantastic horse. He's just a great colt.
And a wonderful story, as is your trainer here, Art. Again, you were here in 1955 with Swaps. Swaps would go on to win the Derby. You actually rode here to Louisville in the same car, in the same as you rode the rails with Swaps, but you finally returned as a trainer for the first time Fair to say things have changed a bit?
Oh, I have to say so. You know, it's been a long journey. You know, I've been on the racetrack for almost 60 years, and I'm so glad to get back here. You know, I saw the gray side of swaps yesterday, and it brought back a lot of good memories for me.
Well, and again, you come here with the favorite. You said you wanted to come back with the horse that you really believed could win. Everybody wants to know, California Chrome, how did he enjoy the trip, and how's he been these last few days?
He's been really phenomenal over here at Churchill Downs. He's kind of a people's horse. He loves the publicity, and he's just one of them horses that just knows, I think, that he's a star. And he's a California rock star, I call him.
Well, for you then, Steve, these last 24 hours, what are they going to be like?
Well, these last 24 hours, I can say right now I'm pretty calm. When I wake up tomorrow, that may be a different story. But my wife and I, we saw the movie in the museum yesterday, and it brought a tear to my eye. It really did, because we're here. All the work that we put in, the blood, sweat, and tears that we put in, we're here.
Here, and rightfully so. I want to wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
My apologies to your co-owner, but best of luck to him as well.
He's probably not even listening right now, so it's all good.
And Art, best of luck.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Enjoy this last day. Bob Costas, back to you.
All right, Josh, thanks. A little more than an hour until the running of the Kentucky Oaks, and when we come back, more on the favorite, Untappable, and the controversy surrounding her trainer following allegations of mistreating his horses. Our interview with Steve Asmussen after this. Back once again at Churchill Downs in Louisville for the 140th Kentucky Oaks. There's a familiar panorama of pink in the stands, and meanwhile, at the betting windows, the current odds have Untappable still the favorite at 8-5, with jockey Rosie Napravnik hoping to win her second Kentucky Oaks. At the same time, Untappable's trainer, Steve Asmussen, has been in the headlines for different reasons over the past several weeks. Asmussen is under investigation by agencies in both Kentucky and New York, resulting from complaints filed by the animal rights organization PETA. PETA released the results of its own undercover investigation in March. That compelled the trainer to relieve his top assistant, Scott Blassie, of his duties. But yesterday, Asmussen told me he has not done anything wrong. In the spring and summer of 2013, here at Churchill Downs and at Saratoga, PETA had someone working for you, but that someone was also an undercover investigator, and she came away with some 7 hours of tapes that PETA claims contained some very damning information. According to PETA, they say that you and your top assistant trainer, Scott Blassie, subjected horses to cruel and injurious treatment, administering drugs to them for non-therapeutic purposes, in other words, for performance-enhancing purposes, that they were allowed to run even when they shouldn't have been allowed to, running a risk of serious injury. Your response to that?
That it's horribly misleading and untrue. It is simply false. For somebody to secretly tape you for 5 months and not come up with one actual rule violation. If you read the complaint and there is not one actual rule violation that they say.
They say the tapes reveal that one of your jockeys, Ricardo Santana Jr., who will be aboard Tapiture in the Derby, used an electronic device to shock a horse to cause the horse to run faster, which of course is illegal. Is that true?
That is not true. That's absolutely ridiculous. And there's governing bodies in this sport that make sure that that isn't. Their stated goal is to abolish horse racing. Their shock value.
PETA's stated goal.
The organization, you know, that has made these allegations, its stated goal is to abolish horse racing. They aren't going to get anybody's attention unless they throw in the shock value. I come from a family that grew up in horse racing. My mom was a trainer, you know, went to the barn, raced horses all the time. The most bothersome thing about this is for anybody to think that I am not a good caregiver. I mean, that would be the first thing on my resume.
Denny Phipps,
who is the chairman of the Jockey Club and who, as it happens, had Orb, last year's Kentucky Derby winner, says that there's a dark cloud over racing because of these allegations, and that this weekend would be better if you withdrew and you were not part of the Kentucky Oaks and not part of the Kentucky Derby. What do you say in response to Denny Phipps?
Well, I mean, that's very disappointing. You know, I wish that he would read over the actual allegations, that watch the tape. It is, you know, language that you don't want to listen through or sit through. But for somebody to be in, as I said, somebody to be in your barn for 5 months and secretly tape you, and they have some suggestions of wrongdoing and no actual wrongdoing. The drugs that you're referring to being Lasix, Dantrium, they are therapeutic medications. Lasix is a legal race day medication in which Orb won the Kentucky Derby on last year.
PETA filed complaints with agencies in both Kentucky and New York. Correct. Do you expect to find yourself in court defending yourself?
Hopefully I do get the chance.
You'd like to?
And not only to defend myself.
Not only to defend yourself. Meaning?
As you mentioned, they secretly put somebody in your barn for 5 months, came up with no rule violations.
So you're suggesting counter charges?
They've definitely opened themselves up to such ridiculous claims.
Now, as this story continues to unfold, the Horse Racing Hall of Fame removed Asmussen, who had been under consideration for induction, from its 2014 ballot, and Zayat Stables, which owned 12 horses trained by Asmussen, removed those horses from his care. The extended version of our interview with Steve Asmussen is posted on NBCSports.com. Meanwhile, let's get the reaction from our experts, and again, Tom Hammond.
All right, Bob, and you heard Bob reference the comment by Denny Phipps, the chairman of the Jockey Club, that Steve should stay away this weekend from Churchill Downs. How do you feel about it?
Well, absent of any ruling by a state racing authority saying that he can't, well, he should be able to race anywhere, including here.
I mean, we have all the respect in the world for Mr. Phipps, but I completely agree about that. Now, one of PETA's primary complaints against horse racing in general is the indiscriminate use of medication. On that topic, I happen to agree with PETA. I think there is too much medication in horse racing. There needs to be more out-of-competition testing. There needs to be more aggressive post-race testing at every track, at every race. Now, the sport is making progress on the medication front. I just think it needs to do more.
It has made a lot of progress, significant in the last couple of years. I mean, they've gone to a uniform medication policy across the nation, with the exception of a couple or 3 states. Even those, Louisiana and Florida specifically, have claimed that they would join that. Now, we'll see if they do, but they've pledged to. But if we can sit here and think that this industry is going to go to a zero medication policy without prompting from outside forces, I think we're kidding ourselves.
Well, the issues go way beyond Steve Asmussen's barn. They affect racing in general, and we'll keep our eye on any developments that occur as the Triple Crown for 2014 unfolds. Well, here on Kentucky Oaks Day, we have another race coming up in a moment. It's the $300,000 Ali Sheba for 4-year-olds and up at 1 1/16, and will take charge. Last year's Travers winner, who was beaten Justin O's in the Breeders' Cup Classic, you'll remember, is the 4-5 favorite here. His last race, he won the Oaklawn Handicap. 4-1 second choice is Golden Ticket, and 6-1 on Moonshine Mullen and My Loot. But a solid 4-5 on Will Take Charge. There he is with Gary Stevens in the saddle. He's looking to win the Ali Sheba on Kentucky Oaks Day at Churchill Downs.
Show me the
Roses at 4 p.m. on NBC. Big crowd here with pink. Just jumps right out at you, all the pink in the hats and in the outfits of the people on hand for the Oaks. And of course, the Kentucky Oaks last year was the 3rd most attended race in the United States, following only the Derby and the Preakness, with 113,000 on hand in 2013. Let's recheck the odds now for the upcoming $300,000 Ali Sheba Stakes. As we go favorites to long shots, Will Take Charge is the 3-5 favorite. Golden Ticket at 9-2. Then Moonshine Mullen and My Loot at 6-1, and all the way down, Bradster is 22-1. Normandy Invasion was scratched. 3 horses there from last year's Kentucky Derby. Will Take Charge, My Loot, and Golden Soul. And there is The 3-5 favorite will take charge.
Last year's 3-year-old champion. He was a 2-5 favorite in the Oaklawn handicap in his last start, but watch him veer in through the stretch. There was a foul claim and a long stewards deliberation, and ultimately he was not disqualified and came away with a win in what I think was clearly not his A-level performance.
Well, I agree, and jockey Luis Saez, I think, he did a pretty good job, pretty crafty job of walking that fine line between interference and intimidation. But he's been removed now. Trainer Wayne Lucas has gone to Gary Stevens, which is always a good choice. Gary's a great rider. And they have a lot of history together. Remember, they won the Preakness together.
Is he a hard horse to ride, do you think?
Yeah, I do. I think he's a physical horse to ride. He's a grinder. He doesn't have any sudden bursts, and you have to start riding this horse down the backside a little bit at a time. And he's a very tiring horse to ride.
And a look at Will Take Charge, and also here is Golden Ticket.
Now, if you think Will Take Charge is vulnerable because he didn't run his A race last time in the Oaklawn handicap, coming after a very strong effort at Santa Anita before that, Golden Ticket might be a horse that you could look at as a horse with an upset chance. The only problem is when they ran against each other last time here at Churchill Downs last fall, Will Take Charge beat him badly.
Yeah, Golden Ticket coming off a really good second at Gulfstream Park, where he broke slowly, ducked in at the start, and still almost beat Palace Malice. Was probably the best horse in that race, and Palace Malice to me is the best horse in the country.
Now 5 years old, Golden Ticket. There's My Loot, one of the horses from last year's Derby, ran 5th. Rosie Napravnik up.
And then he came back after the Derby and ran 3rd in the Preakness. That was the best race of his career so far. At New Orleans in March, he returned from a long layoff, his first start of the year. It was just a tune-up race for this, and he managed to win from off the pace. That's his style, comes from well off the pace.
Yeah, and you know, it's a lot like what we're facing later with Untappable. You know, Will Take Charge is clearly on paper the best horse. Somebody might be able to beat him, but he's going to have to run less than his A race in order for somebody else like a My Loot to beat him.
2 races ago in the Santa Anita handicap, Will Take Charge ran against a horse named Game On Dude. They ran an unbelievably fast race. In Game On Dude's next start, he was way less than 100%. In Will Take Charge last, even though he won, I thought he was less. He didn't quite bring his A game. So maybe that really tough race at Santa Anita took a little bit of wind out of their sails. We'll see.
Has he had time to recover, you think, for this one?
Well, it's awfully quick back. You know, for all these races in a row, Santa Anita handicap, Oaklawn handicap, and in this modern era, that's a lot in a short amount of time.
The problem is finding somebody on here that can beat him, even if he doesn't run his A game.
So Will Take Charge, the 3-5 favorite, being assisted into the starting gate with Gary Stevens aboard.
Very fast speed horse toward the outside, number 8, Appealing Tail. He's got numbers that could indicate he could be competitive if he can get the mile in a 16th.
And he's going to be challenged up there possibly by Moonshine Mullen, so there should be an honest pace up front.
So with the call of the $300,000 Ali Sheba Stakes, here's Larry Colmus.
Just one left to go in here. Breitster and Jose Lezcano take their position in line. They're all in line, ready for the start. They're off in the Ali Sheba. And it is Golden Ticket, Breitster on the outside, an Appealing Tail between horses. Moonshine Mullen fires through on the inside, and Will Take Charge is running in 5th early. He's down at the rails, 6 lengths off the lead. Then comes Coin Broker on the far outside, followed by My Loot, and Golden Soul is the trailer. So the field makes their way toward the backstretch through an opening quarter mile in 23 4/5 seconds. Moonshine Mullen on top. 3/4 of a length, Appealing Tail second to the outside, and Breitster is taken hard in hand in 3rd here, 3 lengths off the lead. After that comes Golden Ticket. On the outside, Coin Broker Will Take Charge, still biding time back there, 6 lengths off the front. Then My Loot and Golden Soul is the trailer. The pace not that fast here, 47 4 for the first half mile, and Moonshine Mullen is the leader by a half length. Appealing Tail is second, Golden Ticket is third. Then to the outside, it's Coin Broker. And they're followed by Breitster to the inside. My Loot Will Take Charges at the rail. Gary Stevens really motivating him now, and he is not running at this stage. He's still about 6 lengths behind, under a drive with work to do. In the meanwhile, Golden Ticket has taken the lead. Golden Ticket on the outside. Moonshine Mullen tries to hang in there at the rail. They're 3 lengths ahead of Coin Broker. My Loot is next. Will Take Charge never got going today. It is Golden Ticket Golden Ticket has the lead at the 16th pole. Moonshine Mullen keeps on battling, though. Golden Ticket, Moonshine Mullen, and Calvin Burrell on the rail. And they came back to win. Golden Ticket second, then Coin Broker and My Loot.
Well, Calvin Burrell, Calvin Bow Rail, as we have said so many times in Kentucky Derby coverage, on the inside, of course, comes back with Moonshine Mullen. They were headed, came back again, and they are the unofficial winner here in the Alysheba, as the 3-5 favorite Will Take Charge goes down to defeat.
Speaking about Moonshine Mullen, this is his 4th win in a row, and Randy and I were talking about, do you think he can win from slightly off the pace? Well, he had the lead, but then he was off the pace about 100 yards from the wire after he was passed by Golden Ticket, and he fought back. Tremendous effort by #1 Moonshine Mullen after setting the pace the entire way and then fighting back.
Well, what helped him as much as anything was the start of #8 Appealing Tail, who was expected to set the early pace, and that would have probably compromised Moonshine Mullen, but instead Appealing Tail reared a little bit at the start, and that enabled Moonshine Mullen to control the pace. But the heavy favorite Will Take Charge showed nothing. Obviously, that race in the Oaklawn Handicap, where he barely got up despite veering in through the stretch, was a warning sign that maybe this horse has had too many out-of-town trips in a row in too short of a period of time. And these horses aren't machines.
Yeah, and we mentioned earlier, you know, he's a hard horse to ride. It's a physical horse to ride, not hard, but physical. Well, as the gates open, you're going to see Gary Stevens with his whip in his right hand. He hits him on the shoulder a couple, 3 times right now, just to get him into gear as they leave and go by the stands the first time. Now, he's in a pretty good spot right here. But even shortly after this, Gary Stevens, his jockey's having to ride him hard, encourage him all the way, which is not really what you want to see from such a short price favorite early in a race.
The Will Take Charge that we saw get beat a nose in the Breeders' Cup Classic, run second in the Don to Lee, run second in the Santa Anita Handicap to Game On Dude, would have obliterated this field. This is a Will Take Charge that is clearly right now not at the same level as the horse we saw back then. But again, when you go out of town so often, to Florida, all the way out to California, back to Arkansas, now to Kentucky, you know, each race about a month apart or so. There's going to come a time when these horses are going to start to tail off a little bit, and I think we're starting to see that now with Will Take Charge.
Tom was asking me about 3 races in a row. Well, actually, you had the Don Handicap, which you just mentioned earlier in the year. That's a lot of races in a row, and those were big efforts, huge efforts. You can see Gary Stevens right here now. He's really asking him for his best, and he's losing ground as they approach the top of the stretch. I'm sure on his back, Gary's thinking that, you know, this is not good at all right here. I'm losing contact with the field as we straighten up. And as they turn for home, Moonshine Mullen showing his courage, fighting back as as Golden Ticket looks like he's a sure winner here, starting to draw out by about a half a length with Joel Rosario aboard. But gosh, you got to give the inside horn Moonshine Mullen a lot of credit for courage.
Trainer Randy Morris claimed Moonshine Mullen last fall for $40,000 from Steve Asmussen. And now here's a horse that wins a Grade 2 Alysheba with Will Take Charge way back at his weight.
And earlier last year, he was claimed for $25,000. So you could have had Moonshine Mullen for $25,000. Here he wins the Alysheba, and his lifetime earnings surpass $500,000.
Let's go. Yeah, go ahead. Let's go back and check the start. Appealing Tail. We mentioned that he reared a little bit at the gate, which helped Moonshine Mullen control the early pace. So keep an eye on him here as he leads. He just got the brakes in the air and maybe sort of stumbles behind. I don't know exactly what he did there, but
well, I actually thought he would be on the lead.
Me too.
You know, so and we were wondering if Moonshine Mullen would rate. That totally gave the advantage as far as the pace is concerned to the winner.
And there is Calvin Burrell, who will be aboard right on Curlin in the Kentucky Derby, looking for win number 4 tomorrow. And here are the payouts, with Moonshine Mullen paying $15.80, $7.40, and $5.40. Golden Ticket was second. Coin Broker got third. The Exacta $81.60. The Trifecta for $1, $545, and the dollar Superfecta $2,391, with 4th place My Loot. Calvin Burrell does it again at Churchill Downs. The fans adore him here as he gets a thumbs up and a big cheer as he comes back to the winner's circle. And Calvin Burrell getting the victory on Moonshine Mullen in the Ali Sheba Stakes. And a few moments ago, he spoke with Mike Battaglia.
With Calvin Burrell, Calvin Moonshine Mullen appeared to be beat halfway down the stretch. He came back again on the inside. What did you do to get him to make that comeback?
Well, I just sat as long as I could, you know, and I looked over my shoulder and I didn't see nothing else running, you know, at the time, like the 16th pole. And so I give him a little breathing, and then when I asked him again, he come back to the horse, you know. This is a nice horse. I begged Ronnie to run him in this spot, and we talked about it, and he said, well, we're going to give it a try. This horse is getting so good right now. It's unbelievable.
We got to ask you about the Derby. You've won 3 times from the rail each time. How are you going to get from that outside post to the rail tomorrow? What's your plan?
Well, we'll get there. It might take a little longer, but we'll find our way and hope it develops the way I got it in my head, and we'll go from there.
Congratulations today. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Calvin Burrell aboard Moonshine Mullen.
Nice ride from Calvin to get Moonshine Mullen home first in the Ali Sheba after it looked like he was beaten in the stretch. Well, you know, that big video board here at Churchill Downs is not the only thing new. High above the track is the man who has been the voice of the Triple Crown in recent years, Larry Colmus, who is now, starting this spring, the voice of Churchill Downs. He'll be calling all the races here at this historic track. And Larry, you joined some pretty exclusive company, being the announcer that goes both to the racetrack, the fans here, and on television.
Yeah, I'm just the third guy to do both. Of course, the first one was Chick Anderson, who called that famous "Secretariat is moving like a tremendous machine." And the other guy just interviewed Calvin Burrell just a second ago, Mike Battaglia.
Do you do anything differently since you will be going both to the 150,000 or so here at the track and on television?
No, I'm not going to do anything differently, but it is going to be pretty cool to be here on track at Churchill Downs and to be able to call in front of that big crowd both today and tomorrow.
All right, well, good luck in the Derby tomorrow and in the Oaks today, Larry. I know you'll do a great job, as you always do. That's Larry Colmus, who will be right there in those stands looking down at the track as we check the odds for the upcoming Kentucky Oaks. Now the next race on this Oaks Day card, with the outside horse Untappable still the favorite now at 3-2. 6-1 My Miss Sophia. 6-1 also on Rhea Antonia. 8-1 on both Sugar Shock and Rosalind, and the others are double digits. And of course, Thank You Mary Lou is in the field here, and she is at 16-1, trained by Mike Maker. Julian Leperoux is aboard, and she will be running in the colors of Ken and Sarah Ramsey. Thank You Mary Lou, named for Mary Lou Whitney, a friend of Ken and Sarah Ramsey. The Ramseys named the horse in Mary Lou's honor in appreciation for her support when Sarah suffered a stroke in 2007, a setback that did not stop the Ramseys from pursuing their thoroughbred dreams.
Here's one of her walking down the aisle in the little church there. She's looking lovely in her gown. Here, I guess we've already finished up. Looks like he said the groom can now kiss the bride, and I've jumped right on it.
Theirs has been a romance that's lasted nearly a lifetime, 56 years, that have yielded riches both personally and professionally.
We've actually been successful in several businesses. Made over $1 million in the stock market, over $1 million in real estate, over $1 million in radio business, and over $1 million in cellular telephone business.
Their formula is a simple one, a partnership that relies on the tenacity of his work ethic and her gut instinct.
Midnight Papa, what do you like about him?
She's actually smarter than I am. She is, no two ways about it. Her pet name was Kitten. She bought the first horse and named it Kittens First, or the foundation broodmare for the entire farm.
From Kittens First came Kitten's Joy, whose progeny and earnings have added horse racing to the Ramseys' list of successful endeavors together.
Need another horse?
We don't win every gamble we take. That's just about as simple way as you can put it.
They've overcome professional and personal setbacks, including a stroke that left Sarah with limited movement and speech in 2007.
We don't give up on her illness and all that. I mean, it could be that we could still find a stem cell or some kind of solution to get her back to where she could walk and carry on a conversation again. We sink or swim together.
Together, they've built not only 2 of this year's Derby contenders, We Miss Artie and Vickers in Trouble, but today's filly, Thank You Mary Lou. And if luck again breaks their way, the rewards will be shared, as they have been for a lifetime.
I'll lead the horse in, but we will carry her up to the presentation stand if we make it, and We'll do it together. Almost brings a tear to my eyes, just think about it.
And what a year they had last year. America's leading owners, and I call Ken irrepressible. I never see him without a smile on his face. And Jerry, you go back to 1993 with the Ramseys, right?
Yeah, I really got to know Ken riding Kitten's Joy, but it started over 20 years ago with Kitten's First. Now, that's a lot of hair ago, but I've had a great relationship with Ken since then.
A lot of kittens over the years, too.
And, of course, they will have 2 horses in the Derby tomorrow, and thank you, Mary Lou, in the Kentucky Oaks later today, currently at 16-1.
Yeah, the name that you mentioned, Sarah Ramsey, when she suffered her stroke back in 2007, Mary Lou Whitney, who had suffered a stroke just a year earlier, had her private jet flown from California to Florida with her physician to treat Sarah, who at the time had been given only a 40% chance to live. So Ken Ramsey credits Mary Lou Whitney and her husband John Hendrickson there to her right for helping save his wife's life. The horse they named Thank You Mary Lou, when she won her first start, Mary Lou Whitney said she was as excited as if it was one of her own horses winning a big race.
So Ken Ramsey before long will be coming over as they saddle Thank You Mary Lou. There he is. He'll be making the walkover. His wife Sarah's already here in her wheelchair down by the winner's circle, and they will have Thank You Mary Lou in the Kentucky Oaks. Meanwhile, they're getting ready to take the track for the Survivors Parade as local breast and ovarian cancer survivors take part in this parade on the track at Churchill Downs. A record 433 survivors nominated for this event, which raises awareness for breast and ovarian cancer in the local community and beyond. Survivors Parade at Churchill Downs.
Ladies and gentlemen, please turn your attention to the track as the horsemen and horses of the 140th Kentucky Oaks are on their way to the paddock. The walkover has begun.
And this is something new for the Oaks this year, a formal walkover from the stable area. Of course, the walkover for the Derby has become one of the highlights of that day, enjoyed by the horsemen and by the fans. This gives everyone sort of a heightened sense of anticipation for the race to come. It's always interesting, too, to see the horsemen and the fans interact with each other. And, of course, if you're standing close enough to the rail, you can get up and get an opportunity to get a good look at your favorite. So the Oaks walkover again. This time it's something new at the Oaks. Let's go to Bob Newmeyer.
I'm with Todd Pletcher, who saddles a pair of fillies. Mine is Sophia. She likes to run on or near the lead. So do a lot of fillies in this race, Todd. Does that mean that she almost has to be forced to go from the outside post position?
Yeah, we need to come away from the gate cleanly and try to get a good position in the first turn. She's a pretty good gate filly, and hopefully she gets there without losing too much ground.
She's lightly raced. No 2-year-old form. Why so late into the mix?
Just baby stuff. You know, it took a little while to get her going. She's a big, strong filly, and she's done really well this year.
You also have Got Lucky. I know you faced Tapiture with this filly, and she beat you about 8 or 9 lengths. Can you turn around 8 or 9 lengths in the big favorite today with Got Lucky?
Well, I think if they have a fast pace up front, Got Lucky would benefit from that. She wants to make one run. This is the kind of race where you can allow her to do that.
Good luck. That's Todd Pletcher. Here's Kenny Rice.
All right, thanks, Bob. Simon Callahan has the best in the West in Fashion Plate. She's won 3 straight. Although she's won by taking the lead early and holding on all the way, can she do that here today, Simon?
I'd like to think so. I mean, we're definitely going to be forwardly placed, and you know, she doesn't have to go to the lead, but I think she's going to be pretty close to it.
And as far as coming in here, getting used to Kentucky and used to this track, how's that been this week?
Yeah, she's acclimated really well. I mean, she's such a straightforward, classy filly to deal with. She's taken it all in the stride.
You think this is going to be the kind of race where there's 2 or 3 out there battling for the lead all the way?
You know, it's possibly a couple of speed horses on paper. We're obviously one of them. You know, we'll just get in a nice rhythm and leave the rest to Gary.
All right, good luck in his first Oaks. Simon Callahan, let's go to Donna.
Well, in 2006, trainer Dallas Stewart pulled a huge upset when he won the Kentucky Oaks with a $96 payout, Lemons Forever. 8 years later, you're walking over with the daughter of Lemons Forever, Unbridled Forever. How surreal is this to be coming over for the Kentucky Oaks again with her daughter?
Well, it's just unbelievable. You know, Chuck bought the mother from us, and, you know, he let me start training for him, and he gave me this great filly to train, and hopefully I've done a good job. I just like to say it's just such an honor to be here today and tomorrow, and it's just the greatest sport in the world. I just love it.
Third last time out to Untappable. How do you beat her today?
Well, you know, it's all about the trip. She's got the outside post, got 3 good riders inside of her. I don't think they're going to let it be real easy for her, you know, and hopefully we'll just be kind of in the back, see what's going on, and Robbie will be ready to go when the time's right.
And Dallas Stewart joined by Mr. Fipke and the lovely, the 10, Bo Derek. Let's go to Mike Battaglia.
All right, Donna, with Kenny McPeak, trainer of Rosalind. And Kenny, you bought this horse as a yearling for $70,000. She's already made now over $600,000. What about this filly caught your eye?
Well, she's just a big, beautiful filly. I mean, she's got a great hip on her and balance, and she had a little bitty vet issue that everybody kind of turned their nose up at. And I tend to take a little chance on things like that. Ray Struder, the owner, great guy, trust my judgment, and it's worked out pretty good.
Now, she ran on the Potley track last time out at Keeneland. Won the Ashland Stakes in a dead heat. How will that translate to dirt today?
Well, I think she'll be fine. If you watch a Breeders' Cup race, she only got beat a half length. I mean, she's a half length from being champion 3-year or 2-year-old filly. And if she's champion 2-year-old filly, she's probably one of the favorites today, and they pay a little more attention. But she went straight to her knees that day. And I think if she can get away good and she gets in nice rhythm, we need some pace in front of us. You know, I'm more worried about pace than I am the racetrack.
All right. Thanks, Kenny. Good luck.
Thank you.
Let's go to Kenny Rice.
All right, thanks, Mike. Sugar Shock comes in here. She's won 4 straight. Started her career last year right here at Churchill Downs. Doug Anderson, the trainer. First off, let me ask you, this is the first time you're based here, but the first time you've walked over with an Oaks horse. What's this feeling like for you?
It's really unreal. I mean, we're just having a blast, and we're enjoying the moment and just having fun. It really is. It's what we all dream about right here.
Doug, you told me earlier she was beginning to really take off a little bit here as a 2-year-old racing here, and then found her stride literally and figuratively when she goes to Arkansas. How does this shape up here today?
Well, I really don't know. I mean, we're going to let her bounce away from there, and then let Calvin decide whether we want to go ahead and keep on going, or, you know, maybe take a hold of her a little bit and let her rate just a little bit.
All right, and you got Calvin Burrell as a jockey. You added him because you lost your regular jockey. Not a bad pickup.
No, it's not. I mean, anytime you can get a Hall of Famer like Calvin, it's just great. It's great.
Good luck to you, Doug.
Thank you.
All right, Tom, yeah, he lost his regular rider and picked up Calvin Burrell in the process for this race.
And Calvin just had a nice warm-up, winning the Ali Sheba Stakes in the race before the Kentucky Oaks. There's the 6-5 favorite, Untappable, who will break from the outside post position 13, with Rosie Napravnik as she comes through the tunnel into the saddling paddock.
Yeah, she seems to be the most aggressive of all these fillies that we're looking at as they come into the paddock. Most of the fillies have been walking very calmly. Untappable, she's got her, I hate to use this phrase, game face on. I mean, she's flexing her muscles right now.
So there's the scene as the fans ring the paddock as the horses arrive. Let's go to Josh Elliott with Rosie Napravnik.
All right, Tom, thank you. Again, I am here with Rosie Napravnik, who will be on board, the clear favorite heading into the Oaks. Rosie, Untappable, looking good. But in these final minutes, how's the horse looking to you?
Well, she looks pretty good. I can see her right over there.
How's she been training this week?
She's been looking so good in the mornings. I mean, she's really the standout training, and Steve is really in love with the way that she's going, and he's really high on her, so couldn't be happier.
You know, for you personally, 2 years ago, you told me that your life changed when you became the first female jockey to win this race. What then would another win today mean for you?
I don't know. That was really a special race for me, and 2 years ago, I kind of feel like it's my race. So we're going to try to win it again. I mean, it'd be huge.
This would also be just a scene setter again for tomorrow, the 140th running of the Derby. You'll be aboard Vickers in Trouble. Bit of a tough draw, perhaps. You'll be starting out of the 2 gate with opportunities of not being in the race. What do you think about the position?
It's not like your most preferred position, but I think I have the right type of horse to come out of there. He's really sharp out of the gate. He's really athletic. He's agile. Being 1 post out is probably a little better. So we're going to have to work out a trip. I think we can get into a good position, but we'll see how it goes.
All right, let's not look ahead, though. Get out of here. You got a big race to run. Thank you. Rosie Napravnik again. She'll be on Untappable as the paddock begins to fill up. There she is, the 6-5 favorite. Much more from the Oaks after this.
Malibu Moon.
My Oaks pick is Rosalind.
Fashion Plate, obviously.
Please explain. #1 horse is going to win the Oaks.
I'm going for my Sweet Sophia.
I just go with whatever my husband says.
Sugar Shock is definitely going to win.
My pick for Oaks is Fashion Plate.
Our pick to win the Oaks is Fashion Plate. We are untappable.
All right, well, those are the picks of some of the fans here at Churchill Downs. And what about our Facebook poll? We asked you at home who you thought might win and gave you 4 choices here. And as you see, Untappable, just like at the track where she is 6-5, is the choice of those of you who played along on Facebook. So, Untappable, 6-5 favorite. Everybody thinks she's the one to beat. Can we beat her? How about how this race might be run and won?
Oh, we're going to tell you exactly how this race is going to be. There's going to be plenty of pace up front. So when they leave the gate and they go by the wire the first time, we're going to have Sugar Shock #3 on the lead, followed really closely by Fashion Plate, a pretty hefty pace up front. My Miss Sophia is going to be tracking in third. Untappable is going to be further out into the track in about the 4 path.
And a little bit further back, 1 off the rail there, Rhea Antonia, the stretch runner, hoping that the pace is a little faster than it looks right there when they actually run around the racetrack. Now into turn 2, you still have Sugar Shock up front with Fashion Plate to her outside. And My Miss Sophia could get a perfect stalking trip in third if this develops.
Yeah, Untappable starts to make up a little ground. Rosie's probably going to push on a little bit. Unbridled Forever creeping up. But here's where you see the moves by Rhea Antonia and Rosalind as they approach the turn for home.
And now down the stretch they come. As on the outside, Untappable, along with My Miss Sophia, go past the early pace setters, start battling it out.
Yeah, and here's where you might see Untappable start to draw out and dominate, but I'm not so sure she's going to do that. She might creep by, but Rhea Antonia is still going to make her run, and so is Rosalind. My Miss Sophia's given it a game effort, and I think she's going to hang in there pretty well.
Now, as you see, we have Untappable winning. All right, but there is a horse in this race called Please Explain, and I think that's what we have to do right now when we're giving our picks. Go ahead, you first.
All right, well, I can always pick the chalk, you know, and I said, let me go against her. I think My Miss Sophia's doing the best lately. Very dominant in New York in her last win, so I'm going with her.
I thought Untappable would be a shorter price than 6-5, but just to give people an alternative viewpoint, right? Tom's shaking his head.
We're covering ourselves, Tom.
Rhea Antonia at 8-1 is what I went, because I'm hoping for a fast pace, and I think she's going to run a much better race today than she ran at Santa Anita.
Seen a lot of cop-outs in my time.
Yeah, that's way up there, isn't it?
Let's see who our other commentators prefer in the Oaks. Let's start with Donna.
Well, Tom, I'm going to go for the favorite. This filly has only started twice this year. She's won both of her races. That's Untappable. She's also only had 2 starts at Churchill Downs, and she's won both of those. I go for Untappable. Let's check in with Lafitte.
Yeah, Donna, Untappable might be the filly to beat, but I don't need her at 6-5. I'm trying to pad my Derby bankroll, so I'm predicting an upset here as Bob Baffert wins his 3rd Kentucky Oaks with Rhea Antonia. Kenny, who do you like?
I'm going to take a shot that Todd Pletcher becomes the first trainer in 24 years to win back-to-back Oaks, doing it with My Miss Sophia. She's doing her best running as of late coming into this race. Now, I know Tara has already been cashing in some tickets because I saw her do it earlier. So, Tara, who are you and Johnny picking?
Okay, so I'm going with Unbridled Forever. I like the underdog aspect. I've been looking at my stats. Fingers crossed.
And I'm all about Fashion Plate because I'm me. Tom, take us away.
All right, well, that was fun, but now let's get serious. We have a couple of handicappers, quote, expert handicappers on our staff. Let's see who Bob and Mike prefer.
I don't want to steal Johnny Weir's thunder. I thought I was the Fashion Plate today. No, never, Johnny. Look, 6-5, I think, is a decent price on this filly. She's sensational.
There are still 22 minutes till post time. She will not be 6-5. If she is, I think that's a steal. But anyway, I don't think they'll beat her. I don't care what post she breaks from. I just think she's heads and shoulders above these fillies from what I've seen. I told you I would have made her second choice.
You're going to bet her to win at 6-5, or you got
She won't be 6-5. I just told you that. I'm going to go for an exacta. I like Rosalind. I think that she'll make a nice late run. Pace is going to be quick, so that's going to be my bet. I'm going to take Untappable straight over Rosalind.
One exacta. Well, we like money. You know, 6-5 isn't going to cut it. No. I like the trifectas, the 1, 2, 3 analysis here. So we'll take the 13 Untappable on top. We'll put number 9 Unbridled Forever, number 2. Go 13-9 all for $1. 13 all 9 for another $1. $22 for $1. Hope to catch maybe a $200 trifecta for a $1 bet. Not a bad value.
Not a bad value. Hey, one long shot. Empress of Midway.
No chance.
I know. Doug
No
O'Neill
chance.
did not come in here for nothing. This horse could run big at a huge
She could
price.
help my trifecta.
She could.
That would be all right.
All right. Got.
All
There
right,
you go,
well,
Tom.
I think those were 2 votes for Untappable in the gimmick bets, trying to make a little more money because Untappable is 6-5, the choice for the Kentucky Oaks.
On the
Cup playoffs next, right here on NBC SN. Well, the horses are in the paddock, and now the jockeys are making their way to the paddock. Let's take a look at today's jockey lineup.
Jose Lescano, please explain.
Mike Smith, Rhea Antonia. Calvin Borrell, Sugar Shot.
Joel Rosario, Rosalind.
Julian Leparoux, Thank You, Merida.
Victor Espinosa, Kiss Moon. Gary Stevens, Fashion Plate.
Channing Hill, Aurelia's Bell.
Robbie Alvarado, Unbridled Forever.
Corey Nakatani, Empress of Midway.
Javier Castellano, Miss Sophia.
John Velasquez, Got Lucky.
Rosie Napravnik, Untappable.
As you took a look at Rosie going by there behind Mike Smith, who's trying to win the Oaks for the 2nd consecutive year. Now down the steps into the paddock where the trainers will give them their instructions, and they'll get a leg up on their mounts for the Oaks. Let's go to Lafitte.
All right, Tom, here with 2-time Kentucky Oaks winning trainer Bob Baffert. Bob, track here at Churchill can be a funny track. Some horses love it. Some horses spin their wheels over it. Rhea Antonia, what kind of an indication has she given you that she will handle the track here?
Well, I think a lot of it is the way they go over it in the mornings, and she really really is fluid over this track. She's a big, long striding filly, but she needs to get away from the gate much better than she has in the past. She needs to get in a groove, and I think that's why I put the blinkers back on. Keep her a little bit aggressive. She's a filly that when you turn her head loose, she sort of falls apart a little bit, so he's got to keep her in the bit.
Good luck today, Bob.
Thank you.
Let's go to Kenny Rice.
All right, thanks, Lafitte. There was some breaking news of joy today in the jockey's room. Channing Hill is a new dad. He and his wife Shelby, the proud parents of baby Waylon, born this afternoon. So for Channing, who will ride Aurelia's Bell, he's already had a winning day. And the reason he is on Aurelia's Bell is a love story as well. It's because his father-in-law, Wayne Catalano, is the trainer of this filly. That's why he got off Sugar Shock. He'd been with her from the start, and she had won 4 in a row, so he's going up in odds. But again, it's a love story. He's a new dad. Everyone's happy. Congratulations to Channing today, Tom.
Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that make a day to remember if Aurelia's Bell with Channing Hill aboard could win? She's a long shot, though. 36-1 on the board right now, as Untappable remains the 6-5 favorite.
Ladies and gentlemen, please turn your attention to the paddock as Patty Cooksey, winner of over 2,000 races and the leading female rider of her generation and a breast cancer survivor, gives the command for Riders Up.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to give the command that I have heard so often in my career at Churchill Downs. Riders Up.
And a smile from Rosie as Patty Cooksey, P.J. Cooksey, who rode all around Kentucky during her day as a jockey, gives the command of Riders Up. Mike Smith aboard Rhea Antonia. Here's Sugar Shock with Calvin Burrell. Patty Cooksey, one of the most popular people around the racetrack during her day, and how appropriate that Patty, as a breast cancer survivor dressed in pink, gives the Riders Up command for the Kentucky Oaks. Fashion Plate. Jockey Gary Stevens. There's Aurelia's Bell and new daddy Channing Hill. Unbridled Forever, Robbie Alvarado. Here's Empress of Midway. Rick Pitino bought into her a week or so ago. The 11-horse Miss Sophia, Got Lucky, John Velasquez. Here's the favorite, Untappable. And Rosie Napravnik takes her place in the saddle.
She looks pretty fired up, as Jerry said earlier. She's got her game face on.
Rosie or Untappable?
Yeah, both, really. I mean, they both look pretty excited. Yeah, the only knock you can have on Untappable is that on a similar stage, Last fall in the Breeders' Cup against the toughest competition she's faced before, she was terrible. The horse race of her career.
So the horses making their way through the tunnel to hit the main track in the view of the fans here. And time for the call to the post for the 140th Kentucky Oaks. And so the horses making their way on the track here for this Kentucky Oaks edition 140. They'll be going 1 1/8 miles. Many of them have not been that far before today. Purse of $1 million. It's the 3-year-old fillies. This is the Derby for fillies. The fillies for the Lilies here at Churchill Downs the day before the Kentucky Derby. Mike Smith hoping to win 2 in a row. Each of the jockeys, including that new daddy Channing Hill on number 8 Aurelia's Bell. Going by with Empress of Midway. Corey Nakatani. He's on Empress of Midway. Javier Castellano on My Miss Sophia. John Velasquez, Johnny V on Got Lucky, and right behind him, Rosie Napravnik on the favorite Untappable. As here are the horses for the Kentucky Oaks. Number 1, Please Explain, a long shot who was a surprise entrant. Trainer Tom Proctor, though, knows about filly upsets. He won the Breeders' Cup Distaff at Churchill Downs at 47-1. Number 2, Rhea Antonia. Trainer Baffert, Jockey Smith team up. Smith won the Oaks last year. Rhea Antonia won last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies on disqualification. Most recently, she was second in the Santa Anita Oaks. 3 is Sugar Shock. Calvin Burrell won the Oaks with the great filly Rachel Alexandra in 2009. This filly has won her last 4, including the Fantasy at Oaklawn for her Iowa-based connections. Number 4 is Rosalind, named for a character in Shakespeare's As You Like It. Trained by Ken McPeak, who dead heated with room service to win the Ashland Stakes at Keeneland. Number 5, Thank You, Mary Lou. Ken and Sarah Ramsey, America's leading owners last year. 21 times the top owners here at Churchill Downs, but they've never won an Oaks or a Derby. Number 6 is Kiss Moon. Victor Espinoza rides favored California Chrome tomorrow. Today he pilots this filly, who was runner-up to Sugar Shock at 13-1 in the Fantasy. Number 7 is Fashion Plate, wire-to-wire winner in her last 3 under Gary Stevens, who looks for his 3rd Oaks triumph. Fashion Plate's latest win, the Santa Anita Oaks. Number 8 is Aurelia's Bell, trying to become the first Bourbonnette Oaks winner to take the Kentucky Oaks. And Bourbonnette was the first stakes win for her after 3 graded placings. Number 9 is Unbridled Forever. Her mother, Lemons Forever, won the 2006 Oaks, paying a record $96.20, and no Oaks winner has ever produced another Kentucky Oaks winner. This filly was 3rd in the Fairgrounds Oaks. 10 is Empress of Midway. Louisville basketball coach Rick Pitino just bought into this filly, who raced in the Sunland Park Derby. She was 2nd there. Corey Nakatani seeks his 3rd Oaks score. Number 11, My Miss Sophia, named for the 11-year-old daughter of owners Bill and Tracy Mathis. Todd Pletcher won the Oaks last year and has the saddle services of hot riding Javier Castellano. This filly has won 2 of her last 3, including the Gazelle at Aqueduct by over 7 lengths. Number 12, Got Lucky. Pletcher again, this time with John Velasquez aboard. This filly 2nd to My Miss Sophia in the Gazelle and to Untappable in the Rachel Alexandra. And number 13 is Untappable, winner of the Rachel Alexandra and Fairgrounds Oaks by over 17 combined lengths. Rosie Napravnik looks for her 2nd Oaks win in 3 years. She won on Believe You Can in 2012. That's the field of 13 for the $1 million Kentucky Oaks. Well, which jockey will smell the lilies today? Mike Smith on Rhea Antonia tries to be the first to win the Oaks back-to-back since 1960. Or will his buddy Gary Stevens win his 3rd Oaks? He's on Fashion Plate. While Victor Espinoza on Kiss Moon hopes this is a dress rehearsal for tomorrow's Derby. But they'll all have to beat Rosie aboard the favorite Untappable at 6-5 on the board.
140 years, the Kentucky Oaks has kicked off Derby weekend at Churchill Downs, a Friday party that leads up to a test for the best 3-year-old fillies in all of horse racing.
Princess of Silmar has pulled off a shocker in the Kentucky Oaks.
But from time to time, the races also serve as a showcase for some of the best 3-year-old thoroughbreds of either gender. And today's Kentucky Oaks seems to fit in that category. Untappable has looked all but unstoppable in her races as a 3-year-old. And with the best female jockey in the sport, Rosie Napravnik, aboard, she enters the Oaks as the strong favorite. But there are other solid contenders in the field, namely Rhea Antonia, trained by one Hall of Famer in Bob Baffert and ridden by another in Mike Smith. Ken and Sarah Ramsey have been friends with racing fixture Mary Lou Whitney for years. So, to honor everything Whitney's done for them, they named their filly after her. And so here's Thank You, Mary Lou in the Oaks today. In a sea of pink, with the garland of lilies waiting to be placed on the winner, the best 3-year-old fillies in racing are set to go. The 140th Kentucky Oaks is just moments away.
On a breezy late Friday afternoon in Louisville, which now has turned overcast, better than 113,000 have shown up for the Kentucky Oaks. It's the 3rd largest crowd in the history of this event. For those of you interested in history, back in 1875, the very first Kentucky Oaks was won by a filly named Vinaigrette. It paid $1,100, even allowing for inflation, Tom. It's gone up considerably. $1 million to the winner today. Just about post time. Here's Tom.
All right, Bob, and $1 million to the purse, and of course the favorite to take down the winner's share of that $1 million is Untappable, who is the even money favorite as we go favorites to long shots. My Miss Sophia is second choice, Rosalind third, actually co-third with Rhea Antonia, and Sugar Shock is also at 9-1. And there is the even money favorite, Untappable,
who looks very, very good coming into this race off 2 outstanding efforts this winter at the fairgrounds. I mean, she was just dominant. She won monster races there. But if we go back to last fall, she wasn't a favorite in the Breeders' Cup, but she was very highly regarded in the juvenile fillies. And as they broke and went to the first turn, Rosie Napravnik had her a little wide, but this was about where she usually was in her races. You know, 4th or 5th early, but she's here in the middle of the backstretch. She's visibly losing ground. She's not herself in this race.
The horse in the lime green silks that passed her was Rhea Antonia, and passed her on the backstretch. And you can see right there, fading into the sunset, was Untappable, who was basically eased in the race. None of these other horses are going to improve enough to beat Untappable if she runs her usual race. The only hope they have is if Untappable throws in a clunker like she did in the Breeders' Cup.
And here's Rhea Antonia with Mike Smith.
Now, she was second in the Breeders' Cup. She was put up to win via disqualification, but she's a closer. Now, Bob Baffert mentioned earlier he's adding blinkers to this filly. He needs her to break well out of the gate and get focused. But she's going to come running. And comfort behind horses need a fast pace up front, which she should surely get from Sugar Shock and Fashion Plate. So it would set up for a closer, but Untappable can go either way. She can lay a little closer, or she can come back from beyond.
Donna's on horseback and has had an eye on the horses as they warm up. Donna?
Well, Rosalind is a little bit of a problem out here, Tom. This is a filly who's had some gate issues before. She's actually good in the starting gate, and she's good once she gets to the starting gate. But when she sees the gate on the horizon, she just starts to balk. In fact, I talked to the starter, Scott Jordan, and he said until she gets up here to the starting gate, he will not load the first horse. She held up the start at Keeneland in her last race because they were back here trying to get her to the gate while there were other horses were in the gate. So as you can see, they've got her very close to the starting gate right now, which is a good sign for her, because the closer they can get her to the gate, the closer they'll have to getting her in the gate. Tom?
All right, so Rosalind being encouraged. There's Untappable. You said she had her game face on. Has she been all right in the warm-up?
Yeah, I think to me, she's been too aggressive. But you don't know what she's been like. Now, Rosalind is always like that, so we expect that from her. Is Untappable always like this? We don't know. She hasn't been on the national stage in a while. If she was like that at the fairgrounds, it's not unusual. But I don't think it's a good sign. The only way I think she can get beat short of getting in traffic is getting hooked up in an early pace duel, which is not her style, but she is pretty aggressive right now.
And all the controversy surrounding Steve Asmussen, he's the trainer of Untappable. It would be a bit of vindication should she get the Oaks today. And of course, Todd Pletcher, the America's leading trainer for year after year, as My Miss Sophia and Got Lucky, 2 horses here in the Oaks. And Ken and Sarah Ramsey. There's that smile on Ken Ramsey's face. They have the long shot, Thank You, Mary Lou, and there's Dallas Stewart, hoping he can repeat the upset before that he had in the Oaks, as Larry Colmus calls the Kentucky Oaks.
And they're all in line. We are ready for the start. Owen acting up in the starting gate there. Empress of Midway. Oh, and Empress of Midway has flipped in the starting gate here. We are going to have a delay here at the start of the Kentucky Oaks. Empress of Midway has flipped in the starting gate, and we will have a delay.
Donna? Donna's very close.
Tom, Empress of Midway flipped pretty badly in the gate. By flipped, I mean that she reared up and sat down. Oftentimes, they'll rear up in the starting gate, and then they'll just go back onto all fours again. This is a filly who reared up, but then lost control of her footing on her hind end, and so she's really sitting on her butt right now. They're trying to get the horses unloaded on each side of her so that other horses don't get injured when they do try to get her out of the starting gate. Now that they have those horses on each side of her unloaded, they'll open up the front doors and try to get her out the front to get her out as safely as possible.
And Corey Nakatani, you saw him, he was helped out of the gate too, but then is standing up observing. So as they try to get Empress of Midway.
Yeah, she is up and out. Now what happens is there is an association veterinarian at the starting gate at all times to look over horses like this and make sure that they're okay and decide if they're going to scratch her or let her run. And that's the question right now. As they start to lead her back, she's apparently out.
Yeah, she's just been scratched. The veterinarian, who is watching at all times, has told the stewards that Empress of Midway should be scratched.
Looks like she's standing perfectly. They're really close to starting the race. I mean, we warm these horses up to get their blood pumping, and hers obviously was. Donna explained it pretty well. They'll go up a lot of times, but sometimes they lose their balance, which appears what she did.
There she is, just as Donna said, sitting down, and then gets up.
Didn't really seem too upset about the whole thing after she got out.
No, and she looks to be okay, but obviously for precautionary reasons, you don't want to take any chances at all after something like that happens. Now, this is a horse that has a lot of speed, so she was going to be a part of the early paces. Yeah. Corey Nakatani, who would have ridden her, dejectedly watches on.
So she's being taken back now to the paddock after being scratched by the veterinarian after rearing up in the gate. Flipping is the racetrack term. Not quite right, but sitting down in the gate in her case. So Corey Nakatani watching, and now luckily he was not injured.
This is one of the real improvements that's been made in horse racing over the decades, because once upon a time, not all that long ago, when a horse flipped like that in the gate, it wasn't an automatic scratch. They would look at her, and if she looked okay and didn't look to be cut or injured in any way, they'd bring her back around, put the jockey back on, and load her up. You know, now animal welfare issues, of course, are at the front and center of everybody's mind, and they don't want to take any chances at all when something like that happens, and that's a good thing.
What do the jockeys do in a case like this now that you've got to sort of reprogram yourself for the race to come?
Well, it's okay with the riders. They're taking off the horses so they can walk around. They don't know how long the delay is going to be. But the horses are already warmed up to a prime point, especially Untappable. She was really, really on the muscle. It's hard to know how each individual horse would react, but they all let down a little bit once you take the rider off.
And there is Empress of Midway now back in the paddock area after being scratched from after that gate mishap.
Now, once they put the riders back on, typically they don't give them a chance to warm up again. You know, they'll get the riders up and put them right back in.
Let's go back to Donna.
Well, Tom, as I mentioned, the priority once that filly flipped was to get the horses out from each side of her so that she didn't cut up any of the other horses with her legs as she was thrashing around a bit. I got a good look at Unbridled Forever, who was on her left side, and also the 11, My Miss Sophia, who was on her right side, and both of them were completely unscathed, as was the jockey, Corey Nakatani. Tom?
All right, so that's good news. And we'll now reload the horses again for the Kentucky Oaks. As Unbridled Forever, the Dallas Stewart trainee, a long shot, as was her mother, and she won the Oaks, paying $96. Unbridled Forever at 13-1 at the moment. Untappable still the heavy favorite. So back into the gate. Let's go back to Larry Colmus with the call of the 140th Kentucky Oaks.
Got Lucky has taken her spot in the starting gate. There'll be one left to load, and it's Untappable, the favorite. Taking the outside stall, goes in. They're all in line, ready for the start. And now, acting up in the starting gate is Fashion Plate. Fashion Plate has unseated Gary Stevens, who's getting back aboard, and we're just about ready for a start here. They're off in the Kentucky Oaks, and it was a slow start for Fashion Plate, and there goes Sugar Shock right out to take the early lead. It's Sugar Shock to the front. And My Miss Sophia is right up and on the pace, and Untappable is there too. Thank You Mary Lou settles back running at fourth and now takes third. Untappable is fourth to the outside. And they're followed by Aurelia's Bell, and right alongside of her is Unbridled Forever as they race on that first turn. In behind them, Maria Antonia, Kiss Moon to the outside. A break of another 2 to Please Explain. And then we come back to Rosalind, who is third last early on, just ahead of Got Lucky. And at the back of the field, it's Fashion Plate. They went 23-3 for the opening quarter mile, and Sugar Shock leads the way up the backstretch. With My Miss Sophia pressing the pace on the outside second. Thank You Mary Lou is third. Untappable is just off the leader. She's 3 lengths behind at this stage. Then comes Ria Antonia to the outside of Unbridled Forever, while Aurelia's Bell rides the rail 5 lengths off the lead. And then it's back to Kiss Moon. Please Explain. Rosalind is moving up on the far outside. She's got 6 lengths to make up, and it's a long way back to Got Lucky as they round the far turn, and last of them all is Fashion Plate. 47-4 for a half mile. Around the far turn they go, and now there goes My Miss Sophia to the front, but Untappable is right at her neck on the outside, and these two turn for home together in the Kentucky Oaks, and Untappable and Rosie Napravnik have taken the lead. My Miss Sophia tries her best to stick with her, but Untappable is moving away. She's 3 lengths out in front of My Miss Sophia as they come down to the final 16th. It's Untappable. Untappable is well clear. She is unstoppable. She is uncatchable. She is untappable. She wins the Kentucky Oaks over My Miss Sophia. Unbridled Forever was third, and then came Rosalind in fourth.
Well, Untappable was as advertised. The heavy favorite, Steve Asmussen, the winning trainer, certainly happy to see something positive occur in his life these days, as he's been the subject of the controversy which we covered earlier. And now he has won the Kentucky Oaks with Untappable, and Rosie Napravnik has won her second Kentucky Oaks title.
It was almost a yawner. I mean, you know, it was never in any suspense. Rosie had the Untappable in a really good position. Now heard about. But it was funny because on the far turn, there was a loose rein. It wasn't like Untappable was pulling her out of the saddle or anything, being very aggressive during the middle of the race. But when Rosie called on her turning for home, she was there.
And My Miss Sophia ran a heck of a race, and she's a good filly, and yet Untappable just left her for dead here at the top of the lane. 3 wide on the first turn, losing ground. 3 wide on the second turn, losing ground. But when you've got a Cadillac like Rosie Napravnik has underneath her here in Untappable, it doesn't make any difference at all.
Much the best in the Kentucky Oaks today, as Rosie just keeps her mind on her business, takes her down to the finish line. And for Rosie Napravnik, another Kentucky Oaks win after Believe You Can back in 2012. And what did she say to Josh earlier? I own this race.
She does. And if she keeps getting mounts like this, she'll continue to own it.
It's untappable. Winchell Thoroughbreds, the owner, Steve Asmussen, the controversial trainer, watching the race.
Go on, baby, go! Go on, baby, go! Yes, baby, go!
And celebrates a victory in the 140th Kentucky Oaks. Let's go to Donna.
Josh Elliott talked to you and you said, I own this race. Rosie, you've just proven indeed you do. In the last 3 years, you've won it twice. Tell me about Untappable's win today.
She was really great. You know, we ended up from the outside post. I wasn't worried about the post like some people were, but we got into a great position. She runs her best when she can just get into a great stride, and she relaxes so nice. She's growing up, she's maturing, and she is magnificent. She was the favorite coming into the race. She came into here off of 2 straight wins this year. You know, everybody knew she was the filly to beat, but at all points, did you feel like you had plenty of horse underneath you? Absolutely. She just, you know, she shuts off and she relaxes, and she kind of gives me the ear twitch, like, let me know when you want to go. She's absolutely fabulous. I'm so thankful for Winchell and for Steve for having me on her.
Rosie, a little bit of drama before the start of the gate with a couple of fillies acting up in the starting gate. She looked like she got a little hot. Were you concerned at all?
She came out of the paddock a little hot, but she really calmed down when she got on the track, and there's a lot more space, less people. But we went in the gate the first time and took the halter and shank off right before it happened. So then she was without that, and when we came out and we had to walk around behind, she relaxed even more than she was before. So, and she stood in the gate perfectly, got out perfectly. She's perfect.
Well done. And you're pretty perfect in this race too. Congratulations.
Thanks, Donna.
Let's go to Tom Hammond.
All right, Donna, thank you very much. It looked like she twitched both ears to me. She won so easily. Rosie said she twitched her ear saying, when do you want me to go? And when she was asked to go, definitely she did. Let's go to Bob Newmeyer.
Steve, you've won thousands of races in your life. I've never quite seen you as animated as you were today.
Under the circumstances, it meant a great deal. You know, it's quite obvious and stuff. Just so thankful for the Winchells for, you know, riding this through, and they're just blessed with a beautiful mare. And I can't just tell the feeling of when she stuck that pretty face of hers in front. Just a wonderful day.
What about the relationship with the filly, Rosie, and you?
Well, it's working out really well. Listening to Rosie's comments on her, the filly's just matured so well over the winter, and it's just lovely to see her show herself on a stage like today.
Given the number of races that you won that have been very, very important, where does this rank on your hit parade, Steve Asmussen?
It is what we needed to do today. You know, we just want everybody to feel about Untappable the way that we do. She's just a great filly, you know, just Winchell homebred by greatest sire in the world right now, Tappet. It just means so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Kenny Rice.
All right, Bob, I'm with the on-call vet, Dr. Larry Bramlage. Empress of Midway was scratched before the race. She had fallen in the gate. Larry, what do we know about her?
Well, from all outward appearances, she's fine. She just had gone up on her hind legs and was sort of sitting on her butt and in a position awkwardly for quite a few seconds, and so they couldn't afford to let her run. It's precautionary to take her out of the race.
Is it as simple to say as there's a matter of just losing the balance and no fear of injuries beyond that?
Near as we can tell, there's nothing obvious that she did. She just couldn't be examined fast enough with all the horses in the gate to safely let her run. So for safety's sake, she was taken out.
And she's okay to this point as far as we know?
Absolutely. Can't find anything wrong with her.
All right, Dr. Bramlage, thank you. I also talked to Doug O'Neill, the trainer, Tom, and he said that she looked fine to him. You know, he's going to check her out again to make sure, but everything looks good for her, Tom.
All right, Kenny, and into the winner's circle, Untappable. A filly by Tappet from Funhouse by Prize, bred by her owners, the Winchell Thoroughbreds, and the Winchells, with all the controversy surrounding trainer Steve Asmussen, stayed with him, kept their horses with him, including Untappable, who takes the Kentucky Oaks. And here come the payouts. Untappable, $4, $3.20 and $2.60. My Miss Sophia, $4.20, $4.40. Unbridled Forever, $6. The 1311 exacta, $21.80. The Try, $89.10, and the Super, $298.90. The second fastest Kentucky Oaks in history, 148.68. And the resounding winner, Untappable, ridden to victory by Rosie Napravnik to take the 140th edition of the Kentucky Oaks. Untappable is your Kentucky Oaks champion. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, the odds-on favorite for superior performance. Goodyear, more driven. And here is the complete order of finish in the Kentucky Oaks, won by Untappable, by Miss Sophia, Unbridled Forever, and Rosalind. Then Thank You, Mary Lou, Rhea Antonia, Got Lucky, Sugar Shock, Aurelia's Bell, Please Explain, Fashion Plate, Left at the Start, Kiss Moon, and Empress of Midway, who was scratched. Let's go to Bob Costas for the trophy presentation. Bob.
All right, Tom. Kevin Flannery is the president of Churchill Downs. Considerable reverb among the 113,000 here for the Kentucky Oaks. But look, they fixed it just at the nick of time. Jerry Abramson is the former mayor of Louisville and now the lieutenant governor of Kentucky, and he will make the presentation to Ron Winchell.
Right. It's a great day in Kentucky when we can have a Kentucky-bred horse from a Kentucky farm. Ron, we're so proud of you, your racing stable, and this wonderful, wonderful horse. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a great race, and it's a great honor.
Ron, not long ago, Rachel Alexandra ran tremendously well in the Kentucky Oaks, and then she was entered in and won the Preakness. Any thought of the same thing here?
Well, of course, that's always a thought, but I think we need to sit back and see how she comes out of this race first.
Only have a couple of weeks to think about it.
Exactly. So
it's under consideration, fair to say, right?
It's always under consideration, but we'll see what happens.
All right, let's go over to Josh Elliott.
All right, Bob, with more of the Brain Trust. Again, congratulations, trainer Steve Asmussen and Rosie Napravnik. A great ride. First to you, Steve. Again, with all the swirl and controversy, we discussed it earlier in the broadcast. What does this win mean to you?
Well, it just proves what a great mare Untappable is, and just so proud to be a part of her. You know, homebred of the Winchell families and the long association, and under the circumstances, it couldn't mean more.
It's a special relationship between the horse and the jockey. What do you think of Rosie's ride today?
Absolutely. You know, Rosie's done a wonderful job with her. Has done a wonderful job with her since she's been on her. And as she mentioned, I heard in her comments earlier, the mare's just matured over the winter and is showcased today on the highest stage.
Bob just asked, but I want to get your thoughts as well. Might we see her against the boys there at the Preakness in a couple of weeks?
Well, honestly, we plan on doing well tomorrow, and I wouldn't want her to get in his way.
All righty. Rosie, meanwhile, you said it to me moments before you proved it. This was your race. Now with the second win in 3 years, how does it compare?
You know, it's just a great feeling. I'm so thankful for Steve having me on the filly at Winchell Farm. Steve's done such a great job. They take their time with this filly, and she's just maturing. She's moving forward all the time. She was perfect today.
It looked like a clinical run for you. Did it feel that way?
She broke so sharp. She was standing perfect in the gate. She broke sharp. We got the perfect position, and she gets into a great stride, and she relaxed so nicely, better than you could ask any horse to do, and just showed exactly who she is down the lane.
Sure looked like a heavy favorite as you both won going away. I want to turn now, time for the Longines watch presentation. Here is Juan Carlos Capelli, the Vice President and Head of International Marketing for Longines, with the presentation. Juan Carlos?
We are very proud today to be here for the Longines Kentucky Oaks in presence of our ambassador, Simon Becker, and to present our watches, the Longines Conquest Classic Collection, to the trainer, jockey, and owner of today.
So please do.
Okay. Congratulations.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to all of you. Untappable looked tremendous today, and certainly Tom Hammond provides us with yet another subplot, even looking ahead a couple of weeks.
That's right, Josh, and who knows, maybe they will run her back in the Preakness. We'll see what happens tomorrow with Tapature, which is also a Winchell and Asmussen horse in the Kentucky Derby. By the way, Winchell and Asmussen teamed up in the Kentucky Oaks to win with Summerly in 2005 underneath one Jerry Bailey.
Seems like an eternity ago.
Let's go back and take a look at this overwhelming performance, I thought, by Untappable.
She broke from the gate sharp. She was aggressive, as we mentioned, pre-warm-up, so that wasn't a surprise. What was a surprise is how well she relaxed under Rosie, under a loose rein. Typically, when horses are aggressive during the race, they'll pull against the rider almost like you're water skiing. That wasn't the case with Untappable. She was completely relaxed on a long rein, allowing Rosie to do what she wanted to do when she wanted to do it.
And Rosie Napravnik, when she put her head on the pillow last night, could not have dreamed a better scenario than she's got right here with Untappable. Not losing a lot of ground on the first turn, 3 wide, just about 2.5, 3 lengths off of the lead, set by long shot Sugar Shock, and sitting on top of an absolute beast.
No traffic, no dirt in her face, so as they turn for home, she's certainly got a lot of filly left, and it's surprising how easily she got by Miami Sophia, who looked like she was locked and loaded, ready to punch out herself. Even a strong finish by Unbridled Forever never even threatened to menace Untappable. I mean, there was no drama at all in the stretch run.
So 4 lengths back to the runner-up, My Miss Sophia, and then Unbridled Forever, who's a nice filly herself, was beaten 10 lengths.
I think your point's well taken. These are nice fillies behind her, and she's making them look ordinary.
So the real interesting subplot that Josh Elliott was talking about now is what happens in 2 weeks. I mean, Steve mentioned that he doesn't want Untappable to get in the way of Tapiture. They're hoping Tapiture runs well enough tomorrow to move on to the Preakness in 2 weeks. But if he doesn't, and if the Kentucky Derby horses tomorrow look like that they could be beatable by Tapiture, don't be surprised to see her in there.
Well, Ron Winchell will be one that makes that decision, I suppose, as the Winchell Thoroughbreds celebrate their 2nd Kentucky Oaks victory with Tapiture, the 2nd fastest Kentucky Oaks ever, only 0.08 of a second behind Birdtown in 2003.
Well, looking toward tomorrow, I saw no track bias at all. I thought all day it was fair. I thought she was in a decent part of the track. She ran to her form, so I would expect every horse tomorrow to run to his form, especially with a pleasant weather day.
I tell you what, now the boys have a target. they have a tough act to follow. I mean, that running time, exceptional for Untappable. The way she did it was exceptional. Now we'll have to see if it looks like any of the boys tomorrow can compete with the filly that we see today.
It looks like the fans are sticking with California Chrome in the betting, which opened today on tomorrow's Kentucky Derby.
And I think it's a vulnerable favorite. I'm not surprised that he's a heavy favorite, as visually impressive as he was in his recent races in California, but we've talked about the vulnerabilities.
He's got some gate issues. Certainly not as heavy a favorite as Untappable was today in the Oaks. It's a much more wide open race.
Opened at 5-2 on the morning line, and it's just gone up half a tick. 3-1 is California Chrome. And Wicked Strong is 8-1, still 8-1. And as you see the other odds for tomorrow's Kentucky Derby, that's just the preliminary betting from today. And of course, all the big money will come in tomorrow. California Chrome, the 3-1 early favorite. And our Kentucky Derby coverage begins tomorrow right here on NBC SN at noon Eastern. It all leads up to the 140th Run for the Roses at 4 p.m. on NBC. Coming up next, it's an NHL Stanley Cup playoff doubleheader. First, the Rangers take on the Penguins in an Eastern Conference showdown. And then we head west, the Wild and the Blackhawks. So for our entire NBC Sports crew, Tom Hammond saying so long from Louisville. We'll see you tomorrow.